hear the presentation and ask questions. The property currently is zoned Community Activity Center within the Rock Creek Ranch PUD, which is basically commercial zoning. Municipal use is also the use that's allowed. So they were moving forward with this development plan that we would have an amendment to the Rock Creek Ranch PUD and final plat site plan in addition to that. So with that, they're going to give a presentation to the board and then answer any questions the board might have. With that, introduce David Foster.
Great. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor and members of the board. I want to first begin by thanking Matt and your staff. We've had a number of meetings over the course of the last, 6 months, even a year. I was thinking about this. I started working on this project a little bit over a year ago. I was here in front of you last November on behalf of Richmond, American Homes. And we had started to have a conversation last time about the future uses and the opportunities for that site. And as you'll remember, we did spend quite a bit of time talking about the economics of that site and the opportunities to develop that site in the near-term future or long-term future. We had an analysis done by THK, and I think at the end of that particular meeting, we had a general consensus about what could be done or built on that site. And then we moved into kind of the second phase of the conversation about, well, now that we're in agreement as to what may or may not be built there, why don't we talk about some opportunities for development on that site? That's where maybe there wasn't complete consensus as to how that site should be redeveloped, rezoned, and then ultimately developed. And you'll remember, and if not, I'll remind you, that we had proposed a 38 unit subdivision, single family, detached, 2-story home subdivision. Looked similar to this, probably in a packet from a year or so ago. And some of the responses were that the community is really interested in more diversity of housing product, housing type within the community. And there was a conversation a little bit about whether or not Richmond was the right builder to be actually completing this project. And so I mentioned this last year, and I'll repeat it again tonight. It's worth repeating. The process that you have in this community for developers, builders to come and make a proposal at this stage is really very helpful before they get too far along, spend too much money, become too entrenched in a project. So based on that conversation from last November, took some time, counseled my clients at the time, and ultimately kind of reevaluated whether or not Richmond was really the right applicant at this time. And so what you have today is Richmond in a position, a willing position to sell their property to a different developer and a different set of home builders. And tonight I'm joined by Richard Frank and his company Center Development. Happen to know Richard. I've represented Richard also for probably close to 10 to 12, 13 years on a number of different projects. He's a very good developer. He has been very creative in projects that he's done, and really, I think, brought a fresh perspective to thinking about how to develop this site. We then, after Richard got under contract with Richmond, we came up and we met with the mayor and again with Matt and had a dialogue about what are some of the things that the community may want to see on this site. When we talked about diversity of development, we wanted to have a better understanding about what kind of diversity of housing types we were talking about, because you'll remember Richmond was willing to take about 8 of those homes and turn them into ranch homes that are immediately adjacent to the existing subdivision, and then build the balance of the 30 as single-family, 2-story homes. And and Mayor and Matt were very clear that that's not quite the level of diversity we were thinking about. We need you to be more diverse, because really there needs to be a sense that this is the remaining project. This is the remaining property in this subdivision. So when we talk about diversity, you're going to have to handle the diversity on this site for the balance of the subdivision. And we had actually met at that point with a prospective builder, an excellent builder, a well-respected builder in town, a builder who spends a lot of time up in the North Metro area, does a lot of new green build. And when we got done with that conversation, they met again with Richard and the builder, and they said, we just don't think we're going to be able to get done what we just heard. So Richard continued to find another builder who could meet, hopefully, the objectives of the community. And so we're here tonight, and I'll introduce Dan Nicholas as the regional president of Ryland Homes in just one second. But really, what we were endeavoring to do, and what Richard really is pushing his builder to do, is to do a variety of things. One is to really create diversity of housing stock on this site, to really address some of the needs and concerns and really opportunities that are afforded a builder to build green, and to figure out how to even turn up the notch a little bit and make sure that what we're building is sustainable. Third, what we heard was, is there a chance that we can build something more in terms of a maintenance-free or reduced maintenance community? It's a concept of, kind of live in place, that there are members of your community who moved into Rock Creek years ago who'd love to continue to stay in this community, but they're now empty nesters. They're looking for somewhere to live out the balance of their time in Superior. Main floor masters, easy access, no step entry, and how can we provide a community that affords them that kind of life so that they don't have to move out of the community. And so that was what we foisted upon Ryland, what Richard foisted upon Ryland, and I'll give Dan an opportunity to tell you a little bit more about the Ryland story and what they're proposing to do on this site.
Great, thanks.
Thanks, David. Mr. Mayor and Board, appreciate the opportunity, and Matt also, to give you a little history about Ryland. I'm not sure if you guys know us or not. We've been operating in Colorado since 1987. Publicly traded builder, New York Stock Exchange. We've been, as an organization, in business for about 47 years, so we think we're pretty stable. About the 6th largest home builder in the country today. We, depending on the rankings, 6th or 7th. And we pride ourselves in the Colorado division on really trying to do something a little bit different than what the traditional public builders do, and that's what attracted us to the opportunity in your town. And particularly myself, I'm a 3rd-generation Colorado native. Near and dear to my heart is the sustainability issue that our division uses as our brand. Ryland never left the market, but really slowed down in the marketplace about 5-6 years ago. Worked through the communities we had. Operations shrunk down a lot, like I think a lot of builders did, so it gave me an opportunity coming in as the new division president about 3 years ago to retool the thought process here in Colorado. I previously worked for a couple other large builders in town. My background originally being counted as a CPA, say that affectionately to anybody that's in that field, and then got into the real estate development business, where I've been very happy for about 25 years. So product is where we want to differentiate ourselves. As a community developer, we try to do as many sustainable practices as we have, and we can. Overused buzzword, I appreciate. For us, the definition's real easy. Sustainability is trying to leave an environment for future generations like the one that we've inherited. and be a good steward between now and then. So it's about reusing and recycling and conserving. So we've partnered ourselves with organizations that have a philosophy like we do. Many of our suppliers and trade partners understand our program, and so within our product, you will find upwards of 50 plus items that are either energy efficient or sustainable by nature. Everything from using quartz countertops, which is a man-made substance, as I'm sure you probably know, all the way through how we're doing our insulation. And so we've focused as an organization on energy efficiency. The marketplace appreciates that, but the sustainability component in the building green, another kind of overused word, is important to us also. So we train our staff to understand the message. We try to educate our buyers in what we offer that makes us different. And one of the things we've done is design new product, which we want to just give you a quick peek at today or tonight. That product, and if I can figure out how you did that, Matt, I think I'm working on something now.
Yeah, down at the bottom is, one of those two right there. There you go.
I just had rotated cuts so my arm is not stable. This is the land plan, obviously, that we're presenting to you guys tonight, but I want to also have our experts from PCS show you that. Is this other one the?
Yeah, that's
okay. Hopefully you can see that was in your package, but I appreciate the scale was kind of small. We're proud of this product because we think it presents itself to the marketplace as a ranch patio home. And those are actually duplex units. We call them patio villas. They look like, I would say, a typical 3,000 square foot ranch plan. The beauty of this product is the incorporation of a side load garage, which is on the left side of these units, and then a front load garage, which is on the other, which allows us to market a property that really separates itself for the two homeowners, and hopefully bring it in at a price that makes sense and in terms of fitting the need from the market. I think, as David alluded to, we think there's a big demographic, including maybe my generation and the one before I, that is looking for a place to age in place. Not necessarily want to be in an age-restricted community, still pretty active, still pretty vibrant. Our land plan, as you'll see, is all about the connectivity to the existing neighborhoods and to the surrounding open spaces. You got some of the best open space in the country in this part of town, so far be it for us to try to do anything but connect to it and take advantage of it. But the product itself has been designed with typically a zero-step entrance. And so when you look at the actual floor plans, all of them have easy access bathrooms on the main level. We're really trying to plan for people that someday will use a walker or maybe in a wheelchair. So the land plans or the interiors of these units themselves all have wider doorways. They are ranch plans, so all main floor living. They will all have an option for a finished basement. For people that still might have a kid or two either coming or going. Sometimes coming and going and coming and going, as we all know. But it gives some fun space opportunity in the basements of the units. And we think also is a friendly neighbor to an existing community because there's not a lot of height to these buildings as you would find in a traditional two-story. And also, I think because of the ability to put two units on a lot, it gives us a chance to make these affordable so that a wider range of constituents have an opportunity to move into this type of patio home that we hope feels like a very expensive community, but again allows an opportunity for a wide range of people to have an opportunity to live in them. Happy to answer any specific questions you guys have, but that's all I really had from a prepared standpoint.
In terms of square footage, what are you thinking for these homes?
The footprint itself are generally a little over 3,000 square feet, so that's why those look like kind of a big ranch plan. Each side ranges from about 1,300 to 1,600 square feet, depending on which specific unit you have. And another clever thing, by the way, I should give some props to Jerry Gloss at KGA Architecture. He's a local Boulder now based in Louisville architect. National award-winning guy, but one of the things that we've done in this product is the left side and the right side are interchangeable within 3 different building configurations. So if for whatever reason people seem to really like the A unit, it can go with the 1, 2, or the 3 on the left side, or vice versa. If you like the 1 unit on the left side, it can go with a A, B, or C on the right side, and still work within these elevation drawings. So it gives us a lot of flexibility for combinations of floor plans, and I thought that was pretty clever how he pulled that together. I'd never seen that in my 25-year career.
So you're looking like 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms?
Typically 2 bedrooms on the main level, study options in almost all of them. We've hooked all the formal living and dining rooms. Rarely does anybody use that space anymore, so these plans are all open. Big countertops, seating, for breakfast and more casual meals, a place for, either a breakfast nook or what you might consider formal dining off the kitchen areas, but really kind of big family or gathering kind of space. Try to, the goal for us was to really make them live like people live. And so a lot of oversized showers rather than master bathtubs that people frankly don't use too much anymore. It's a nice idea that we're all going to come home and soak in the bathtub some night, but nobody ever uses them. It's a good big dust collector in my house. So, we've really kind of hooked those. And then when you need more bedrooms than a couple, then downstairs, obviously, those options are built for some additional bedrooms and typically a rec room type area. Several of the plans have what I would consider a dual master, so that it could be, couples and we found from some of our research, if you snore like I do, your wife might want to live in about another bedroom. So tried to plan those types of opportunities as well as a roommate situation where you really want 2 master bedrooms within a unit.
Unfinished basements?
Unfinished standard, but again, several different basement options that we can roll in. Trying to hit a price point if you're interested in the $350 to $400 range. That's still a little bit up in the air, depending on how the development plan and the engineering costs and some of those kinds of things really shake out at the end of the day if you guys are kind enough to support our project for us. But that's where we're trying to go on a target basis.
Great, thanks.
Sure.
Deborah and Sandy?
I have several questions.
Please.
First of all, I was wondering who you're actually directing the product to, what age group, what income level. You can give me kind of a rundown there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think our first target, honestly, is the 3,000 residents in Rock Creek. We think there's a lot of people that have been in those houses and in that wonderful neighborhood, notwithstanding some of the issues I know you guys have dealt with over the years with some of our competitors. But great neighborhood, all things considered, and we think there's a lot of people that like living in Superior and want to stay here and would be a perfect target for us in these homes. They will be maintenance-free, so when you get to look at the land plan a little bit more closely, we're not anticipating any kind of fencing within the community, perhaps an area where you could contain a dog, kind of maybe around your patio area, but no real stockade fencing or lot line fencing or any of that. All fully maintained open space. So, from a target, really, it's not just an aging demographic. I think there's a lot of people who love to get on their bike on the weekend or head on a hike on the weekend and don't want to do the maintenance. So it's really a lifestyle buyer that we're trying to attract. And I think it could be everything from, a couple of young professionals to, a household that's divorced. The kids are still in Rock Creek with one of the parents, and the other one wants to live close. Here's a perfect opportunity to keep the family in a more connected way. To again, roommate situations. Ideally, it's someplace that you can stay for a long period of time. That's why we have the 0-step entrances, the wider doors, and the more accessible kinds of unit. They're not really handicap design per se, but they meet a lot of the accessibility standards. So even as people say, stay in this neighborhood for 5 or 10 years, we hope it's in a position where they can stay there for as long as they want.
what you're describing is not just empty nesters then, if that answers Deborah's question.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that's a good point. I think there'll be lots of young, not necessarily families, but younger couples that will look at this kind of product. We hope to bring it in something under, 400,000. So relative to, Boulder County, that's pretty affordable housing, all things considered. And, ideally, we'll have a couple of units that will be more in the 350 type of range, which again, relative to Boulder County is a pretty good price point, we think, to really have a wide perspective of potential buyers.
So are you planning on marketing the 50-plus population?
No, not necessarily. Again, I think it's more of a lifestyle that we're going to market to. It's somebody that doesn't want to mess with the yard, wants a fun living. I think a real wow factor in these houses, we've tried to design into all of the 6 different units that are available within the mixes. Need some outdoor space maybe for some pets, but doesn't want to or need the big backyard area. I mean, honestly, right across the street you got the trailhead for a series of parks and trails that go on almost forever. And so it really has got to be somebody, I think, that's more interested. It could be kind of a lock and leave situation. Maybe part of the year somebody would live in one of these units, and part of the year they might be in another part of the country. But still appreciate Boulder County and all the beauty that we've got up here, and want to stay in this area. But our primary target is really going to be, I think, the Rock Creek buyers that know where the shopping is, know the convenience of the neighborhoods already, and are comfortable here. Their churches are here, their kids' schools or former schools are here. They know what's going on in this part of town and want to stay here, just in, again, a different lifestyle. So yeah, it's not a age-restricted concept at all. It's really a lifestyle concept, open, we hope, to everybody, and frankly, the more diverse population, the more fun those kind of communities are, because I personally am not the type that wants to go just live with a bunch of adults. There's a lot of fun stuff that can be done when you have a little more dynamic neighborhood, and that's what we hope to create.
Sandy and then Chris.
I see where you're coming from, but I'm going to take the opposite side of that. In fact, we've got a pretty diverse single-family home housing stock that accomplishes a lot of what you're saying. The demand, certainly I have heard about, and using Dr. Cog, Denver Regional Council of Governments data, the need we feel as a community, and I'm speaking just for myself, is how to retain our seniors as they no longer want a single-family product. And so as I hear your descriptions, because of the tight living quarters, I'm very concerned if, by definition, we are not then excluding seniors. Because by definition, you're going to have small kids in the duplex next to you. You may have a single parent situation, whatnot. So you actually, this may not be what seniors who are empty nesters are looking for. And because they may not be looking for that, then they may not find this to fill that need. Right. So tell me what you know about that.
Your point's well made, but I probably did not, and I apologize, I did not articulate very well what these floor plans are all about. Maximum 2 bedrooms on the main floor in any of the units. Some of them only have a master bedroom. And so they are not really geared towards a family. I think in terms of a younger demographic, it would be a roommate situation where they might each want a type of master bedroom setup. But I think the floor plans, and I apologize, we don't have a way to put it on the screen, but I do have a hard copy here to give you a quick example.
We have one in our packets.
Oh, you do have one. If you notice those, they're about as open as you can get and still be in a square footage target in the 15 to 1800. I don't think most people they're really in the looking at a final move of their life want the big house anymore. Mm-hmm. And so our philosophy is really geared towards using living space very efficiently. And frankly, that's part of our sustainability program. The reason why we can have Energy Star 3.0 scores in the low 50s on a pretty regular basis because some of the criteria that you may be aware of for Energy Star rating has to do with the number of bedrooms and the square footages. And if you build big houses, it's really difficult to get into the kind of HER scores ratings that we want.
I sense a lot of questions on the board, so I'm just going to ask
Okay,
one more question on this particular thing. If I happen to have 320-something sons, and I certainly, when I downsize, don't want them moving in next to me. You know, with their active lifestyle, lots of friends coming and going, et cetera. So if we came back to you and said, like your idea, like your plan, but we are looking for something that really meets what we feel we don't have in Superior, which is senior type of empty nester housing, so that transitional housing between the big house and the nursing home. Would you entertain that idea?
Well, this is it.
Yeah.
This is it.
Okay.
I think that's exactly what this product is, and that's really the primary demographic that gets attracted to this. What I was alluding to is I don't think by the nature of a lifestyle product it's going to exclude somebody that's under 50 years of age. I mean, I think there's a lot of people in their 40s, kids are gone, you know, that want to have a lifestyle that this product allows.
But it
for.
sounds to me anybody who can afford it can buy it.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
we were not trying to age restrict this.
No, but we can
And-
have
and honestly, this
55-plus
community would be too
communities.
small to really try to provide the amenity packages that are demanded by the age-restricted, a la your neighbors down at Anthem,
Right.
that really do attract that through an age restriction.
And I feel like you're an empty nester. I don't consider you a senior citizen, so, I mean, really.
Chris, Joe?
So I'm sure you're aware of the expansive soils in this area, and I'm wondering if you've taken that into consideration when you discuss this parcel of property, and then also entering and exiting this property, the potential traffic issues. Have you guys addressed that within your group?
We think we have, but certainly not on the traffic issue to the extent that we will. Likewise, on the geotech, we are a very conservative organization, don't like lawsuits, don't like homeowners to have problems. We use the latest and greatest techniques for soil mitigation issues. Honestly, I think Rock Creek got a bad reputation because when it was built, some of the techniques that are available today had not really been discovered or had not been brought to the market in any kind of economical way. And what I'm really speaking to is an over-excavation effort, if you're familiar with that term at all. We just did a project in a nearby town and had hot soils. It's very expansive soils, up to 4, 5, 6% expansion. We dug down on that site 20 feet below the bottom of the basement. So, you know, not from current surface area, but from where the basement starts, 20 feet below that, took all the soil out, treated it, and mitigated the expansion in it by having water content added to it to a level, without trying to get too technical here, of about 103% content, certainly over 100% of the total moisture that the soil can hold. Went and put that back in lifts very carefully, having geotech investigation and engineers doing proctor samples all the while the grading contractor was putting the soil back in place. It's as foolproof as you can get to try to take expansion out of soils. Now, on top of that, Ryland, as our own decision, we would use a structural floor anywhere that we finish a basement. So although it's a little expensive, upwards of $10,000 to $20,000 depending on the size of the house, if we're going to finish somebody's basement, we also put it on a structural floor. So even though under a geotech engineering theory basis, we've taken expansion out of the dirt by that process, we will still use a structural floor to try to ensure that we're not going to have a problem. I can't sit here and no one can, if they're being truthful with you, saying we'll never have a problem with soil, but we are very comfortable dealing with the types of soils that are in this area. And frankly, we've had experience in the southwest part of Denver metro area in a formation that's called the Pier Shale Formation. That 15 years Jefferson County said no one can ever build on this type of rock formation again. When this over-excavation technique came back into play, Jefferson County, from both an engineering and a city, or engineering and a geotech standpoint, agreed that this will mitigate that kind of problem. And we've built literally hundreds of houses down in the Chatfield area with few, if any, soil problems. So very good question, big concern of ours also, and something that Ryland as an organization is very concerned about, making sure we don't create problems for them.
Okay, Joe?
Appreciate your presentation, and I like the product you're offering or talking about here. I do have a question, even though they're a ranch-style home, how high are they? What's the height of the roof?
Boy, you're going to catch me on that one without knowing. I'm guessing they're something around the 25-foot level from, from the roof pitches that we have. I got that answer. I apologize. Where's Jerry Gloss when you need him? Yeah, significantly. I mean, they're one-story ranch plants, so we've got, I think, some attractive roof pitches. But even with that, if you consider that they'll typically be a 9-foot floor plate, it's really just roof members above that. So I'd feel very comfortable telling you it's something less than 25 feet tall.
And is the number of units you're suggesting in this an important number for this to be a viable project for you? Or?
It is. I mean, we were very concerned about having good connectability within the neighborhood. And if you guys don't mind, I'll flip to that land plan slide again. We tried hard to make sure there was connectability where it made sense. If you can see up on the, it's really the west end of the plan, but where lots 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 are, that neighborhood has an existing connection there that we want to make sure draws into the community. There's one on this side also by lot 2930, if you can, or 1920, that will connect back into the greenways. Okay. And then throughout the community, including along McCaslin, we want to make sure there's trail connections in a couple or 3 different places, and then back into the open space likewise. So there's several places that you can get to those bike paths and to that connectability without having to have a full day hike. Really to the point of the demographic we're talking about may very well be in a wheelchair, may very well be in a walker. And so, we do want that accessibility to be as easy as we can, and so let them still utilize as much as they can about those paths.
Thank you. Deborah, and then Eli, did you have something?
But if you haven't spoken.
No, I'm fine. So, Deborah.
So I kind of want to go where Chris was going. I'm wondering about your warranties. Are they standalone warranties as in a third party, or do you, the builder, do the warranty yourself, where you warranty your own quality workmanship? Right. And the other thing is, along with this warranty, if you find that any of the soils are up to 8% or more as far as expansive, will you be able to offer a warranty?
Yes. If I can remember all the questions, for sure we have a warranty on every product. It's a 10-year structural warranty. We have in Colorado now, as you're probably aware, an 8-year warranty that everyone lives with. In terms of the expansion, not unusual for us to build on sites that started with 8 or more in terms of expansion material. And this technique that I described to you brings those down into the 0 to 1, maybe 2% range.
Is there any percentage of soil expansion that you would not build on? That you would either not build on or that you would not warranty?
No.
No.
And the reason I say that so quickly is we will stand behind our warranty no matter what. 45 years in business, very few lawsuits. There's a reason that we have one entity, and that is the Ryland Group that builds across the country. We don't hide from a community. We don't hide from a home buyer. We pride ourselves on stepping up when there's an issue. A lot of builders do project-by-project LLCs these days because it's easy to fold them up and go away and go on to another project, leaving neighborhoods in big trouble. For lack of better terminology, we are the mothership. So all of Ryland's, billion-dollar balance sheet stands behind every product that we work with. The 8% is a big number, but we can mitigate that, and our geotechs, we think, are the most conservative in Colorado. We use CTL Thompson. Ron McComber, their president, is, I don't want to say a personal friend of mine, but we've worked together for over 20 years. Great guy, understands geotech as good as anybody in the world. Led the Colorado Commission on Geotech for soils disclosures for the legislature to make sure that home buyers knew what they were getting from builders in a soils disclosure. He's the guy that does our work, and I work with Ron personally all the time. Is there a site that if we did the geotech, because we've not done geotech on this site, just so you know, we fully anticipate that this will be fully over-X'd. What we don't know is the depth that we'll have to do, but we know it will be, there'll be an over-excavation process. Is there some level, if we can't get the expansion out of it, then yes, I tell you, we probably wouldn't build there. And that could be on a specific lot. Although, again, we think we have techniques and we think we have a team that can really build safely on any types of soil within the Colorado marketplace.
So with the warranty, does the buyer go through Ryland?
The buyer comes through Ryland. We're backed
So
up
there's
by...
not a third-party warranty?
No, we're backed up by a Lloyd's of London policy on a corporate level. So if there was ever anything catastrophic that's even bigger than we are. Within our division in Colorado, the very first $1 million of a problem is my problem.
Thanks.
Yeah, and we're here.
Elia?
Completely separate question now. So from units like 3 and 4, and 5 and 6, and then maybe from 9, 10 through 15 and 16, how close are these to Andrew, which is the adjacent street? I excluded 7 and 8 because there's a lot of space there, it seems. But
Well, that little box that you see up there is 110 feet by 85 feet. So you can see from, and are you talking about from McClaslin? I'm sorry.
No, not like Andrew, which is the homes that are built already. So I'm
Behind it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's Andrew, yeah. Isn't that Andrew?
Alan, do you know the answer to that?
No, it's Andrew.
That box is 110 foot deep. Our product is about 65 foot deep. So there's already within that box, roughly 35 to 40 feet from the back of the structure to the end of the box. And then obviously, I would guess that neighborhood has at least a 20-foot backyard, plus the buffer that you see, kind of penciled in. So, on average, I would say that those houses along that side are probably 50 to 60 feet or more away from another structure.
So back door to back door would be about 50 to 60 feet?
Yeah, 56. Does that make sense to you?
Backyard.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
To the backyard property line.
Yeah.
Well,
That's different.
Here's what Evie is saying.
The property line is different than the back door.
Yeah, so if you're in your
I
back
mean-
door, these homes,
Right.
how far to the back door of the...
These houses here
Yeah.
probably have about 40 feet separation.
Would you mind, I'm sorry, just in case, do we have a laser pointer?
I'm sorry.
Or- No, that's fine, just in case people are listening at home.
Because from here it appears that
And what I'm
there-
referencing is really the neighborhood adjacent to us. Those typical setbacks are probably a minimum of 15 feet. I don't know if I'm smart enough to work this. Here we go. These backyards here that are back to back, probably minimum separation of 15 feet from the structure to the fence, and then from the other fence to the structure, another 15 feet. So about 30 feet of separation in this neighborhood here. Here, we're going to have about 30 feet from the back of the lot to our property, to the back of our house alone. So almost the same distance that you have from structure to structure is going to be from our house to the back. So in addition, you would have the normal, this would, Alan, it would look to me on a scale that that's probably a 30-foot backyard on that specific house right there.
I was looking more like 11 and 12, 13 and 14, which is, it's a lot closer. It appears
Yeah,
to be
because, Alan, how much
closer. Right,
space do you
those two,
think
right.
is behind here from the back of our lot to the property line?
That's probably 10 feet-ish.
So an additional 10 feet there. So from this structure, there's probably 40 feet to the property line, and then whatever their backyard is, in addition to, and again, I'd say for sure it's a 15 minimum. It might be as much as a 20. So again, that's where I'm kind of doing, quick math that, between the homes on this side and that house, there's at least 50 feet of distance between the two of them. The scales are tough, so I apologize for
I just
that.
want to make sure that we, yeah.
I just want to clarify, those are lots. That's not the actual home sitting right on that path.
That's correct.
So the percentage of the home to the lot is what?
Well, it depends on ultimately how we would configure this, because it's possible that we could make the lot really just the space around the structure and then leave the rest of it open space, because from a practical standpoint, that's how it's going to work. So whether or not, this area is, from the back of the house, keep in mind again, the total depth of the house from the garage to the back of the house is typically around 70 feet. So, it really depends on how we would work with your team to plan the community, because it could be structured where everything outside the house is all just open space that will be maintained by the homeowners association. And really, from a practical standpoint, that's how it's going to be, even if some of that space you own as part of your lot. But for this buyer, because it's a lifestyle buyer, they don't really care about whether their lot is big or small. They're really looking at the product and then saying, what's around me? And that's why, for our sake, there will be a lot of open space around each one of the buildings that sits in the middle of these lots, in addition to all the open space that they'll enjoy as really kind of community open
Can you
space.
describe how big your square footage floor plate versus how many square feet are in each of those lots? I think that will also help us understand.
Let me see if I can do that.
Tell you, so while you're working on that, I want to take, I think it's important for you hear some community members' input on this, and then I'm going to reserve 5 minutes for additional board comment from there.
Okay.
So
Thanks a lot
while
for
you're
the
doing the
time, guys.
calculation.
I hope I answered your questions.
Thank you very much. So,
I'm going to do quick math on that now, I'll tell you that.
perfect. So, I'm not sure if there's anybody from the community has, planning commission or community members that have issues they want to bring up at the current time. Anybody? And name, if you wouldn't mind.
My name is Maureen Canwisher. My husband Scott and I live at 2335 Andrew, which on this map looks like it's directly behind number 9 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the greatest concerns we have, obviously, is having someone directly behind the home that we bought when we were told that the land is designated for commercial, not residential use. And now you're considering rezoning it so that it will have a home directly behind our house. And that was even before all that open space was made open space by Boulder County. So all the more important now for us to maintain those views. And on the comprehensive plan, it actually talks about maintaining scenic views and open space views down to the right here. And those are 2 blocked here now. So that's going against what's already in the comprehensive plan, let alone the views that's enjoyed by everybody on Alpha Court, Andrew Drive, and Ajax Court. So all those homes will be affected. More homes than are actually going in here. Great concern of ours.
Great, thank you very much. Additional, while you're doing your calculation, any other community input regarding this? Otherwise, we'll go back to the board.
I'm Scott Canwisher, live at 2335 Andrew Drive. Maybe I've missed some things, but it just seems that it's already been decided that this is going to be residential, that it's going to be changed. Was this a result of the study that was done, or when was that change made?
So
What has changed?
So nothing has changed at the moment. It's still zoned as it is, which is in the Rock Creek Ranch PUD is a regional activity center, I think, of our neighborhood activity center, which is
Yeah.
so
Community.
some version of whatever's in the.
I'm the
so it's-
original owner of the home. It was told to me when I bought it that it's zoned commercial, that it would be light industrial, office buildings.
I think it was.
Possibly for retail, but that corner would not have the traffic for retail, so it would probably be, it's always been, office buildings and possibly light industrial. Was what
So,
it's always explained.
Just in terms of the process, so it hasn't been rezoned. It would require rezoning, which would be coming through a public hearing, and please correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. It would be going through the Planning Commission, so nothing. This is just a presentation from a potential developer, and nothing's decided regarding anything tonight, so.
Okay. The other issue I'd like to bring up is there was a proposal just 5 years ago to build houses on the other side of McCaslin target market that I understood was to be empty nesters, retirement type of homes, and there was a whole litany of reasons to not build over there. Has our demographics changed? That would affect those reasons. A bunch of reasons were overcrowding the schools. We have trailers at the schools. Many people their kids are being bused. And with all the high density housing that's going in, that's proposed at the town center, is residential really the right use for this?
So those are fantastic questions. I think that's the exact question, and when this comes forward, would be a decision that would have to be made whether or not that makes sense. So those are I think the correct questions to ask.
And obviously, I'm very concerned about the buffer between homes there. The numbers that are being thrown out don't really add up in my head here.
All right, thank you very much. Anybody else have questions or comments? If not, I'll go back to you for the math calculation. Yes.
In terms of rough numbers, on each one of those boxes, only about 45% would be actually a structure, including two-car garages in each of the units, and roughly 1,500 feet on each side. So you got about 3,000 square feet within living space, plus the garages that could be 400 square foot each. So say it's around 4,000. And then that box that you see up there is 100 by 80. So that's almost 9,000 square foot of box or lot. So the structure would be less than half of what you see up there in the shaded area.
So I just have a couple confirmatory questions and maybe one just regular question. So the placement of the house on the lot could potentially either be pushed all the way to the back or all the way to the front or someplace in the middle, and that would depend on how big the setback would be. Do you know how you typically place those homes?
Typically, we would want to have the garage that faced the street have about 18 feet to the right-of-way, which would allow for a car to be parked there without hanging off, into the right-of-way. So, the offset from the front facade of those units to that garage is about 6 feet. So, roughly 20 foot, plus or minus to where that garage door is. So maybe, 10 to 15 feet from the back of the sidewalk for the front lawn area. And again, that's somewhat flexible depending on how your staff and, you guys would feel comfortable about where that sits. And frankly, if it was pushed that much forward, obviously that creates more space in the back because, again, the total depth is about 70 feet from that very front garage to the very, back of the house. And so if we were only 15 foot back, then, we all do the math. I mean, it's there'd be 40 feet of backyard in addition to that open space area, in addition to the backyard of the neighboring communities.
Okay. And whether or not there's property associated with these duplexes or not, I mean, it would be essentially a zero lot line product with no fence. I believe you said that.
Yeah, no
correct?
fencing anticipated, maybe 3-rail fence for a community surround, but not even necessarily that required. I think that would, I'm not sure if all the existing neighbors that would be adjacent already have fences in place. We would try not to duplicate that and make trash collection areas between the property lines or anything like that. But ideally, we'd like to have 3-rail on the perimeter to somewhat define an area of open space that the homeowners association would maintain, and the rest of it is all just open area. So very loose density, quite honestly, relative to any of the surrounding neighborhoods up there.
And you spoke eloquently about the importance of connectivity. So how, with the, do you have the land plan up there that you could, so basically between the potential property and Andrew, would there be a way, how would those, say the people on the northwest side of, I don't know if it's Ajax, I don't remember the court there.
You want to address that a little bit?
How would they connect down to the park area?
Maybe I'll hold this for you and you can talk about it a little bit.
And if you could be by the mic.
This is a little more current plan than what's on the slide there.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Board. So your question was regarding these units and how they would connect?
How would there be a trail essentially behind, 9, 10 through 15, 16, so people could go down, could connect through there from?
Right. This was the first pass kind of conceptual plan, and you can see I wasn't anticipating one back there at this point in time. This one, as opposed to the one that's on the screen, did anticipate opening up, potentially make connections through here and here. But at this point, I hadn't talked with Dan about that, but I wasn't anticipating one behind. I figured that there'd be access, walk up in front so they could come down and catch a trail to get down and connect into that trail.
Which is what this existing neighborhood does right now.
Right.
Okay.
Because this is a fence line all the way along here, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was more the idea here would be to feed people into the middle, whether it was on this portion to get in and come over, and then make a connection down. So it was to bring in the middle and then provide those connections back out, with the section of this side having the potential for connections north-south as well.
Okay, thank you.
Just a quick question. What are your thoughts about that corner of McCaslin and Colton death?
This here?
Yes.
That's a piece that the developer is willing to donate to the city for whatever use you guys see fit. I think.
I'm going to have you.
Yeah, turn, Richard. That's correct.
Just for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as we discussed the last time, and it hasn't changed at all. It seemed to be of interest to the community. We didn't want to dictate what it was going to be. It'll be your job to figure out with your community, but we would make that property available.
Sandy?
Thank you.
So to the town manager, what are the dedication requirements, if any, of this particular development in terms of open space or such?
Well, there's specific requirements in the Rock Creek Ranch PUD. We'd have to go back. I don't know off the top of my head what those are.
Right. I assume there are some.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So the question then becomes, it's the pregnant question in the room, actually, so I'll just put it out there. There's a lot of interest in developing a community center in town, and this is one of the areas that has been suggested for. However, let's go the other end. Let's say we find a different place to put that community center. Assuming the dedication requirements aren't quite what you've allocated here, how would, are they, you think that's what it is?
Yeah. I assume
Okay,
it is, yeah.
okay. Yeah, because, if you have to dedicate this amount of property,
It looks to me like it's
then
over probably what we would require.
it's more than.
I would say
So if we as a town say, you know what, given what we're going to do with that property, we'd like to see more space between units, et cetera, or more, that, I'm not sure what's happening in that central court. What is that area?
What is that? That's true.
It's just a park.
Right. So let's say we feel that for sellability, to keep in pace with this community, we want that to be a little larger, and whatnot. If you had the benefit of extra acreage to work with, to air this plan out a little bit, where would you put the air?
Boy, that's a good question. I'm going to defer a little bit to you, Richard, and/or Alan on that one.
Yeah, maybe it's, perhaps it's not fair to start designing it right now.
It's
But
true.
I think that your point has
Right.
been made.
You may have the benefit
Yeah, I mean,
of more
again,
space.
We aren't far enough down the road, and also to respond to the neighbor's concern, we're not far enough down the road. We don't have any assurances from the town in any way, shape, or form that you're okay with rezoning the site. To the extent that we got more comfortable that, you know what, hey, this may actually be a plan that may work for our community, that's when we're going to dig in, figure out what those dedication requirements are. I happen to believe that this project is far in excess of any kind of a dedication requirement that would result from this subdivision. But if the community, if you as the board were to come back and say, we'd like you to use that space in a different way on that, we're all ears. I mean, that would be the iterative process that
Right.
we're looking forward to having with your staff.
Okay. So I think we need to, unless it's...
Just real quick, one last question. So that 3-acre town parcel, what size structure with parking could you comfortably put there?
My recollection, a different land planner had designed this a year ago, and they had designed it around a 10,000-foot floor plate with the parking that was required as well.
Okay, so you could do 2 levels of that if you wanted to.
You could go 5 levels.
Okay.
Well, probably run into a parking issue at that point, but they had designed it as 10,000 square feet.
Okay.
The view issue as well.
All right, thank you very much. Just for the record, to be clear, there's been no assurance given to anybody that there's any rezoning, that any, one way or the other, or that this is the plan that we will sign off on, one way or the other. So just so it's clear, hopefully you've heard some of the concerns that the board has presented, and whether or not you're comfortable to proceed, that would be at your own risk. But I assume that that's something that you understand these issues. So
Thank you for your presentation, though.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
great.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. We'll take a couple-minute break and then resume the meeting. Thanks. George, how are you?
Good, how are you? Is there any way we can get a copy of the comments?
Yeah, I think it's probably online. I don't have Everybody good? Welcome, everybody. I'd like to call to order a regular meeting of the Town of Superior Board of Trustees for July 23rd, 2012. And Phyllis, if you call the roll.
Mayor Andrew Muffin.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Yulia Gregores.
Here.
Trustees Joe Cirelli.
Here.
Chris Hansen.
Here.
Sandy Pennington.
Here.
Lisa Schumatz. Debbie Williams.
Here.
Town Manager Matt Maggie.
Here.
Town Attorney Peter Carberry.
Here.
Town Clerk Phyllis Curtis.
Thank you. That brings item number 3, approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to tonight's agenda? Trustee Williams?
Yes. I'd like to pull 7, sorry, I've got a page in between that's all messed up. 7F and 7G.
So 7F and 7G
I
to
have
follow the
questions.
consent agenda. Yes? Any other changes? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda with those changes by Trustee Gregoris, second by Trustee Williams. All in favor? Unanimous?
Except I will be
Abstain from one of the
abstain
minutes.
from the minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much. That brings item number 4, reports, questions, and issues. Anybody would like to start? Trustee Hanson?
Just a quick question, nothing to report, but a quick question for Matt. In your, in the weekly digest, you mentioned that you're going to be striping on Indiana in front of Superior Elementary School.
Well, yeah, it's something we're proposing, wanted feedback.
I think it's a great idea. Has Alex looked at that to determine?
He's the one that did the drawing.
Okay. The only concern I would have is he's got parking where the buses go in and park in the morning and evenings too.
Yeah,
But other than that, I think it's a great idea. So.
yeah, we'll have to put up signage as well.
Same
Because there's the signs that are there currently say no parking.
between 7 and 4,
Yeah,
right?
so we'll have to identify those specific areas and then signage for the other areas as well.
Okay, good, thanks. That's it.
Great. Trustee Sorelli?
No, I have nothing.
Well, I'll go. So, let's see, I've had a couple of meetings regarding about US 36. I don't think there's any new changes. I had an interesting meeting with the Secretary of the Interior who called and wanted to set up, so I chatted with him some about Section 16 and other issues that he had concerns about, so.
Salad or?
So, that was, I'm not sure it's a productive meeting, but we discussed the issues of our various concerns, so.
Did you talk about Jefferson Parkway?
It did come up for conversation, yes. So,
And what,
but I think he's completely neutral about. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think he's completely neutral about the highway. But he's really interested in acquiring more open space to connect with the wildlife refuge. So that was kind of the highlight.
did you talk about the trails going from the Rocky Mountain Arsenal to Rocky
Rocky
Flats to Rocky Mountain National Park?
That's
Is
part
that
of that's
his
part of
goal?
his vision. Yes. So. So no decisions made, nothing in concrete, but he wanted to meet, so it seemed like it was a reasonable thing to do. So that's all I had. Trustee Williams. Oh, actually, I have to say, I think that everybody's heart's a little heavy about what's happened in Aurora, and we have a great tight-knit community here. I think Aurora does too, and it's just a tragedy. So I think that we all commiserate with them, and so. Trustee Williams.
Yes, I agree with that. That very night, I kept my daughter from going to the midnight show. She wasn't very happy with me, but I was certainly very happy later. So completely, for me, it hit very close. So I attended an ice cream social with our State Senator Jeannie Nicholson and Diane Primavera, who is running for House District 33, is it? Or 32? What, 33? Yeah, that's what I think too. So we discussed, some of the town issues and some of our regional issues. So it was a nice little chit-chat with them, and there was a few residents, so that was nice. I attended a Dr. Cog meeting, which is always interesting, or so I think. Most people think it's dry and boring, but it was quite lively entertainment that night. So one of the issues, boy, do I need glasses.
You wanted to read it for you?
This type is like so tiny.
She needs them. I'm happy to
It's
look.
okay, it's okay. I'll figure it out here.
What are you trying to read?
Doesn't it look really tiny and it doesn't blow up?
Next fiscal.
Okay, I'm good. So some of the things that we had to vote on, which was kind of near and dear for us, was this Fast Tracks corridor tip funding. Every single corridor for Fast Tracks has a pool of money just specifically for Fast Tracks for that corridor. And already $1.2 million has gone to Westminster for the Northwest Rail Corridor. And so there was another corridor coming forward at the DRCOG meeting, and the majority were originally thinking they weren't going to pass that. They weren't going to allow that funding, that pool of money to be spent. And I found that a little disingenuous in the fact that we already, as a board, voted that this pool of money goes to each and every corridor. So I spoke up and just said that, we can't do that. We've already given money, and this is something we've already voted on, and if you want to revisit that, then that's policy that we should look at reversing. But for now, we have to pass this. As long as the corridor has, complete consensus on whatever project is being thrown forward for that corridor, then they have every right to the money. So that was the big issue that we spent an hour and a half debating. Let's see. I also attended a comp plan review for the community. There were a few residents, but not as many as normal. Wasn't well attended, so I was a little disappointed. So we might want to see how we can market that better to residents. I don't know, maybe it was just a...
Yeah, saturation.
And it might be that.
But
Plus,
there
it's the
is-
summertime, a lot of
But there is a survey
Yeah.
out currently that everybody should look at that's based on the last meeting.
And we've had good response to the surveys.
Okay, well, that's good. Maybe there's like some kind of twist we can throw in there to make people want to come,
Free iPad. I mean, drawing for an
Drawing
iPad.
for something, I don't know.
Not per.
And I believe that does it for me.
Thank you, Trustee Gregorius.
So I too have to abstain from the minutes for the July 9th. So I haven't, so it's the last time I was here, I guess, was for an official meeting was like a month ago. So I've attended more meetings the last month, I think maybe 6. I've lost count. So the saturation point has definitely hit. But great meetings. I think the town center especially has been very instructive. We had a really good turnout up at the Superior Elementary School. I thought it was a great presentation, and the one that we had with the Planning Commission was really good last week. So informational, I think we're making a lot of progress. I'm excited to see what's ahead. Yeah, I agree with the comp plan and the community meetings. That's been, I think we've reached a saturation point, summertime combination of the two. So anyway, it feels like we're making progress as a town. It's been a long, hot summer, but it's been a busy summer. It's been a good summer. And the bleachers look really nice in the community. So I think Trustee Pennington a year late, but she got her wish. And I think the football fans and the soccer fans and the all the other fans out there will have plenty of room to sit. And as far as the tragedy that hit, our son actually did go to the midnight show at Flatirons Mall and walked in at 3 o'clock in the morning, said, I'm home safe and sound. Of course, we had no idea what had transpired until the next day, so it's really made you think a lot. He's been thinking a lot about what happened. And
Did he know at the time?
No, he had no idea.
So they
he
didn't even stop the...
No, they didn't know anything. So I think the next morning when he woke up, I told him, I said, I'm glad you went to this theater, but you'll never believe what happened at a Batman premiere. So he was shocked. And I think life is fragile, and you never know from day to day. So just, I worked with a lot of the students that were at the Columbine. I worked with about 100 kids starting the day after the Columbine shooting. So this is very dear to my heart, and I really never thought this would ever happen again in Colorado. I was stunned when I read the headlines and it said Aurora, Colorado. That I can't believe that it happened in our state again. And people that don't live in Colorado, this is a beautiful state. There are great people here, and I know these two events they're part of our history now. It's very unfortunate because this is an amazing state, great place to raise a family, and just very profoundly sad. So anyway.
Thank you. Trustee Pennington?
Ditto on that. I was out of state. I was actually in Southern California, and two great things. One is it was an American tragedy. I mean, all the hearts there went out to the Coloradans who were affected by it. And two, I do think people wonder what the issue is in Colorado at this point. And I kept assuring it, but we're such a peaceful group of people. So we just have to deal with it. On more mundane matters, Chris and I attended the groundbreaking of Guardian Storage. That was actually very well done. I'm not sure who put that on, if that was Heather or you or the Guardian Storage people. But they it was well attended from all perspectives, and I think the Guardian Storage representative even said this had like the most attendance ever. So so they, I think, feel very welcomed. I was a substitute for Deborah at the OSAC committee meeting in which we had a long discussion of the underpass that's on the agenda tonight. I think Martin's minutes captured exactly what went on there, as does your cover memo, in terms of the recommendation from OSAC, and since that's been pulled, I'll defer that to when we discuss that specifically. Louisville Library Board meeting, I can't say anything. We're just doing some strategic planning at this point, but nothing particularly comes to mind. Building off Chris's comment on parking at Superior Elementary, it seems to me that has the potential to clog traffic there, particularly for business people who are using that corridor to go to work and they'll now have the one lane of moving traffic as opposed to a turn lane, correct? Yeah. Anyway, so I can't, I do feel it's a good thing, but I do think we've probably got to go over the top in notifying the community. I suppose we may have more come south and go up McCaslin using the roundabout, et cetera. So I think it's just a case of proper notification.
Hey, Sandy, just on the left turn lane, are you referring to the left turn on Indiana and El Dorado?
I should say how do people turn into Superior Elementary and get around the parking and keep a lane of traffic moving?
Coming from
Rock
Creek Parkway, gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to cause some shifting patterns. So I think if we just make sure we educate the community in advance so they can make the adjustments.
Okay. Anything else, Trustee Pennington?
That's all.
Town manager?
Let's see. We had some activity in the building department area. Safeway continues to invest in their store, added space to their pharmacy. And then in the Rock Creek Village, some of those empty spaces are under construction for a couple restaurants. So that's good news. Let's see. I had attached the preliminary design concept for the bridge. It's a faux arch. So if you have any specific comments, you can email those to me and I can forward them on to FHU and the City of Louisville team. And
Can we take a few seconds to comment now?
Trustee Pennington?
I thought this was the best plan thus far, the best rendering thus far. I thought it represented what went on in the meeting. My only comment would be on the, what are they called, the concrete barriers, even with the roadway to keep the dirt from falling onto the roadway. What are those officially called?
the Jersey?
The walls, retaining walls. The retaining walls, to me, look to be simply blocks of concrete, like 8-foot block sheets of concrete. And I did not think that was in keeping with the welcoming attitude we hope to build with the bridge and the pedestals and such. So I would like to put that through, that looked a bit concretey to me and maybe could be made a little more visually friendly.
I had a comment too about that. The one thing that struck me the most is at one point we saw those alcoves or the overlooks, and that was going to be reduced. I didn't think it was going to be eliminated completely. I kind of liked that look. It was nice. Not that it's going to be a big gathering point for people, but it just looked nice. I wonder if there's any chance that we could have at least a little bit of an overlook there.
I agree.
So this brings up a process question. So what is the process for the final design of the bridge if it's able to be incorporated into Phase 2 of US 36?
Well, CDOT needs some sort of letter of commitment from the town of Louisville to get it. CDOT would like to get it in the base, not just as an option, because they feel like they have a better opportunity to get better pricing if it's included in the entire package rather than an option that can be cut out. So they'd like, that's what CDOT would need to include in the base as far as the design.
And that timeline is for August?
Right.
Okay.
Can we meet that?
Yes. I think I haven't talked to Louisville specifically about getting approval for the final design, but something's got to come before this board and Louisville's council.
And how do you, I guess that was the question I was trying to get at. So do you know how that?
We could do another joint meeting if the board wanted to. We could see if Louisville wanted, or it would be separately in a regular meeting.
I think we should meet again, because I'd really like to understand how it's going to be paid for and when and all that kind of stuff, because we've really kind of danced around that at our meetings. We've never really addressed it directly.
I think that there
that email I sent out, I thought I summarized how exactly.
there was a proposed financing schedule that I'm not necessarily, I completely agree with, so long as they can figure out that detail.
Well, we're looking at IGAs, an IGA between the town and HPTE for Superior. And then Louisville would have a separate IGA, I believe is how we discussed it, and then RTE would have an IGA as well.
So we wouldn't have an IGA with Louisville. This would be only with HPTE, sorry.
Correct.
Everyone has an IGA with HPTE, correct? That's how it works.
So, and they are going to do the legal work to draft that IGA, or is
Yeah,
that?
I'm just waiting. HPTE said they had a template that they were going to send to us, and I haven't received it. So I'm just waiting on that.
Okay, and in that would be the financing commitment from the various entities and the timelines associated with that, and as well as the final design of the bridge, or is that
That's separate with CDOT, is my understanding.
with CDOT?
As a submission from us to CDOT.
Right.
But it has to be included in the RFP at some point
Correct.
before it goes out.
Yep.
So it sounds like it would be good to pull together one more joint meeting so that everybody is at least close to being on the same page, so that what we don't want to have happen is that Louisville agrees to design X, and we like design Y, or maybe X plus, and that's not a position that would be
Okay.
very productive for doing business, so we need to get
Would
pretty
make for an
close.
interesting bridge. You could do either one side.
Right, half on one side, half on the other, yes, exactly.
All right.
So,
And Matt, I wonder if maybe August 6th, since that's a Monday, that we don't have any meetings,
It's possible.
like at 7 o'clock maybe?
can I have so my request is that if you could put something together where these are the steps and the dates and when things need to be completed by, that would be helpful, I think, for the board.
Okay.
Especially the dates.
Okay? Trustee
And
Benedetto?
then in terms of design features, at the last meeting, several people brought up the idea of lamps and lighting. And when I looked at the graphic, I could just see one lamp on each arch. And I don't know if I definitely need my reading glasses if I miss something or not. Did anybody else key in on the lighting?
Not enough lamps.
Yeah. I wonder if there are enough. I can't say there are not, but if you would just communicate enough lamps, question mark. That's where I am on it.
Okay. Thank you, appreciate that. And anything else from the town manager?
I also included a picture of the bus shelter we are considering
Looks
moving
very nice.
forward with. So I want to make sure there are no huge concerns of the board before.
Just
Provide
one,
shelter from heat and the cold, so I really like that, yeah.
Just one concern. It looks like, a flashback from the 70s and 80s.
19, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little dated. It's a bit dated.
Well, did they make them any different than that?
It's a bus shelter.
I agree. I agree. It's a bus shelter, but it does.
You want to have more?
It's a throwback to like 70s and 80s.
You want arches on it?
No.
It's a bus shelter. It's to provide
well, but
protection.
your question's relevant in that, is there a choice of
That's what I'm.
bus shelters to pick from, or is this the standard U.S. model of bus shelter?
There's a budget. I mean, if the board wants to get into design.
No, I don't. You asked for comment, that's my comment.
But it's not a bad comment, actually. It'd be nice to see 3 varieties or something. I don't know. Is that the only one? Nothing. Okay. I kind of like it, but it would be nice to see what else you got out there.
Is there a,
Be creative.
is there a time-critical nature for the placement of the bus shelter?
No,
No.
just for the residents who ride the buses,
We're melting in the heat.
It would be good before winter.
Yeah, I mean,
Before winter.
that's the, we'd like to get them in before.
I have to say, whoever thought of this idea, every time I see those people waiting out in the
I know.
heat or
It's-
the rain,
it's
I
tough.
think this is an excellent idea.
And we're,
Would it be hard for you to pull a couple more designs?
No, I include them in the next item.
Okay. No, it's not a bad question. No, don't.
And the placement of these are, where exactly?
Yeah.
Well, we're trying to get 3 in this year, so maybe when we're looking at the spots that have the most riders, it appears in the morning or in the afternoon. So one possibly here, and then by the Horizon Apartments.
Oh, yeah.
where's the third?
Across from Safeway, you
One
mean?
here and then 2 at the Horizon.
Yeah.
Horizon Apartments.
There are always
On
people
either
waiting
side of-
at
Right,
all
yeah.
those spots.
Oh, okay.
Across from Safeway, kind of like.
And we know that
Because
these stops are not going away.
I cannot
No, don't say, we don't know that.
Well, we do know one that,
During the budget process.
So we might want
I'm
to
glad
consider
we include
wheels.
this project in the budget because there's no guarantees. with
But
that.
if we can move
well, and they just changed the route.
gazebo, or the shelter, can't we move one of these? Should
Oh,
that be
yeah. Yeah,
necessary?
we could move 'em. There's
I mean, this
options
is
to that.
this one's not going to change here on McCaslin, so it's guaranteed, right?
Well, and they just took off one bus stop
Even that's not guaranteed?
on the 228.
Well, the whole route.
Nothing's guaranteed with RTD.
Even McCaslin?
I mean, I can't imagine they'd eliminate it, but, they've done other things that,
This is, this is the only stop on McCaslin
Right.
Superior.
Right.
okay.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Indiana striping. So, let me know if you have any other comments on that. We'll also have discussions with, we'll we'll meet with the principal over there at Civilian Elementary, and they're back in the office as well. As mentioned.
How about a quick synopsis of how the road project is going?
It's going well. Mother Nature's cooperating. We haven't had a significant amount of rain, so that's good. Graydon Court, which was, we had the residents down that one night at the last meeting. That street, the north half, which is where most of those residents reside, was, the first lift was paved that Saturday. So they were here on Monday. That Saturday, it was paved, the first lift. The south part of Graydon was paved that following Monday. So that entire street has the first lift in. Let's see.
And Matt, that makes it drivable?
Yes. Okay. We'll come in, once we got all the streets done with the first lift, which is first lift of pavement, we'll come in and do them all at once for the final paving job.
Are they able to get in their driveways too?
Yeah.
Because there wasn't
Yeah,
a big lip?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's like an inch below the gutter pan. There's space, so.
And we haven't run into other engineering problems like we did with Graydon.
Knocked on wood, yeah. We have not.
And do you have a schedule when Circle Park neighborhood will be mostly done with their first lifts and whatnot?
It's done. I think the one street that's on Circle Park is done.
The ones along El Dorado, I guess, maybe to be more specific.
Right. I'll have to follow up with you on that. And then, so we have 9, by the end of this week, we'll have 9 of the 16 streets with the first lift down. And then the remaining 7 over the next 2 weeks, and then the final lift by the end of August.
Okay, and we haven't run into other engineering issues, valve problems, things that need to be fixed in the field, anything like that?
No.
And there was some, the traffic control is going okay?
You know, it's an ongoing issue, depends day to day what part of the neighborhood they're in, but our intern is in contact with the residents on a daily basis on the streets that are under construction, so letting them know if the street's going to be closed, and so. But yeah, I mean, the parking is the biggest thing for those when they can't park on their street and getting them close enough to their house. So.
Okay.
So we haven't had any more surprises in like Cedar Ridge? That one, did that just start, did you say?
I'm not sure if that one just started or not.
I think it's I drove by, it seems like it's in process.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no more
The north
surprises
half
for
of
us?
Cedar Ridge Circle
Okay.
on the 17th, Holyoke was on the 18th, and Coal Creek South was on the 19th of July.
Okay.
That's what we're starting on those.
Okay, and they're moving along. Okay, good.
No surprises.
Okay, anything?
No, I think that's it.
But then maybe I can ask you, and perhaps I should have brought this up as a reporter question, but the board promised to get back about the Broomfield Jefferson Parkway letter issue, and I haven't heard anything. I don't know if you heard anything or.
I have not, and I was going to send an email out about that. I just forgot.
So the letter was sent out and we haven't heard anything in response.
No, we haven't sent a letter out because it was
We haven't
not.
given direction on what the letter should say.
Right.
Yeah. I thought we had.
I thought we had 2.
I thought we had 2.
No, because at the meeting.
I read the minutes.
We
Yeah.
responded to the first letter. I thought that they replied, and we're working to respond to that
That's the
reply.
one. Right, exactly. And the board was going to get back about whether or not we were going to meet with Broomfield or JPPHA or whoever, so.
It was
I wanna-
delivered in a
I want to make sure that
You
we
probably threw it in the trash. An envelope in the mail.
need to make sure that we
Okay.
reply sometime.
So the I remember the question. The question was, do we meet with JPPHA as a board, or do we meet with Broomfield, just Broomfield?
Or either.
You didn't answer that.
Or not.
Or not at all.
Exactly. So I will come back to this later while people are thinking about that. How about we can come back to that towards the end of the meeting, if that's fair?
I still think that it would be healthy to meet with Broomfield just as a board-to-board.
Yeah.
And if the Parkway is one of the agenda items, so be it, but there's still a lot of other things that we could probably talk about too as neighboring communities. I think it's good.
Okay.
That might be a very good friendly gesture to move forward without having to be contentious. I mean, I agree.
I'm okay with it.
I don't have any problems with that as long as there is no belief on their part that this is primarily a meeting to have them persuade us that the ground is plutonium-free. I continue to assert that what they say on that issue does not matter to me. But if we're meeting neighbor to neighbor and there's a varied agenda, I have no issue with
We
that.
can have that issue as the last agenda item.
After we break bread, then we'll have.
Yes, there you go. So
That's fine.
maybe I have some general consensus. I don't know if you...
To meet with the council over there.
Yep, sure.
With a varied agenda.
We'll see what it says.
Set up an agenda.
Meeting night. All right.
We're not in a hurry, though, for that, so it's just, whenever it works
No
out.
hurry.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Anything else from the manager, town attorney?
Nothing, thank you.
Town clerk. Okay, thank you. That brings us to item number 5, public comment on consent agenda and non-agenda items.
Yes, that was good, right there.
George, it's good to see you.
Superior, and I'm glad to be back.
We're glad you're
One
here.
item is, Mayor, we got to do something with this speaker here, get it out over on the podium here, because I've listened to 3 different meetings, and I can't hear Channel 8 on my television. Would you please either look into it or take it off the air? I'm talking about your meetings. Do you ever watch one of your meetings on?
No.
I can't get no sound on my TV, either one of them. One of them's brand new. And people invariably come down here and back away from the speaker here.
Yep,
If
that
the
mic
voice
there is a
loud and
problem.
clear,
I agree
I
that
can't
might
hear
is
it.
a problem.
So you
George,
specifically,
do us a favor and bend that towards you, so we
Well, can't you hear
fix
my
that
voice?
way.
It
Yeah, I
shows.
can, but maybe not on Channel 8.
Well, they will. So please look into that on Channel 8. If you can't improve it, like, we shouldn't be paying for it. I'm talking about the meetings, the sound is what I'm talking about. But next thing, I'm very unhappy with moving a shelter out of a park that I thought, the town thought, to put down there in 1982. I don't know if the board has any information on it or what. But we're taking out one park, and putting in another park, and even both of them are inadequate. Now, come on, I've known $25,000 you spend on something that shouldn't have been spent on. I know $1 million that we transferred over here for property. I know $500,000. We put $500,000 in a lake up there. Can't we afford $25,000 for some decent shelter for this park over here on Asti Park? That's an insult, putting a 10-foot by 12-foot shelter there. It helps, but it's not adequate. And I took it out of a park that we fought to get it in. We took the children's play stuff out of it. Well, soon we're going to have a park. We fought putting it down there. People didn't want it, but we wanted it, and it's there, and you're having to take it to dissolve it. If it had to be moved for a special reason down there for the drainage, they could have left it in the same park and moved it. They didn't need to move it up here. Go by and look at it. It looks all right, but it's inadequate for a park that size. I'm serious. Now, next question I have, I got a letter in the mail from Waste Connections. How many of you people voted on, sitting behind that board, just have Waste Connections send me a letter, and a week later send me a 96-barrel trash for recycling out there? I was happy with what I had. 32 was fine. Wind comes here, if you get a bigger one, you're going to have more trash to pick up. It's inconvenient for me, really. and other people in town. Not, some may not, but most should have had a choice what they want.
Hey, Matt, didn't we hear Waste Connections say that some residents would have an option of going with a smaller bin if they wanted to? Not to everybody, but if...
Yeah, I got a request from Gladys Forshew to have hers swapped out, and they came out and did it the same day.
So, George, if you want to swap out to a smaller one,
Okay,
you
that's
can.
right. What I'm going to ask you this question, Mr. Hanson.
Yep.
They're eliminate and going to only pick up every 2 weeks. They're not going to pick up every week like they have been picking up. Now, are they going to reduce my price on my pickup down about $2 and some 40 cents?
So that's for the recycling.
Once every 2 weeks instead of every weekly?
You're referring to recycling, correct?
That's what I'm talking, recycling.
Yeah.
They come every week. Now they're going to come every 2 weeks. That's half. We're going to come back down on the prices? Just because they give me a larger container don't mean that it helps.
This
You
was all.
see where I'm coming from there?
I hear where you're coming from, but this is all a protracted conversation that we had at the board level to try to figure out what the right program
Did the
was.
board figure this out?
Yes.
Yes,
When
but
did they vote on it, Joe?
we voted on it after it initially came up, and then there was a reach out
March, I think.
to the community about which
Right.
proposal they prefer. So I don't know whether you were talked to or not, but I do believe there was a reach out to the community.
It was way back in February, so, because I went back since May and checked them out, and I can't find nothing in there.
It was on the agenda, George, November, December-ish. We asked for a 90-day extension on the contract so we
Right.
could actually research. We did postcards. We actually did the best research I think we've ever done on any issue. And then in May, we voted in line with what, in March, we voted in line with what the residents said in the research. Now, that may not make every single resident happy, but there seemed to be a consensus around this choice. And what Waste Connections agreed to do was if you call in, they will give you smaller trash, smaller recycle, or both.
Will they pick it up every week like they had been then?
No.
Pardon?
Will they pick it
No.
up every week? Okay, then how about the price, Mr. Shirley?
I don't know that was, when they talked about discussing smaller bins, they did not commit to a lesser price.
Well, I'm bringing it up.
The price was actually more to do it weekly. So
Right.
if we wanted to add weekly recycling pickup, the price would have been 11 something.
$3 more or so a month.
Yeah, so it was kind of an effort to keep the price down. And if you went with a 96-gallon bin, assuming that 48 or whatever was half the size, then you get double the size, and you can go 2 weeks without having to have it picked up. But that was a cost-saving effort.
But I was concerned about the 2-week pickup
Yeah.
among some of us, and that's
Yeah.
part of the reason why there was a reach out, a delay, a reach out to the community. And it's obviously not ideal to everybody, but I think it turned out to be the best deal we could get in the competitive process.
And George, also, just so you know, that we had several options in front of us to vote on in March, and it was not unanimous. So it was very difficult to give residents everything that they were asking for and needed. So it was a tough vote.
I know it come up in March, but I ain't heard nothing since then, and all of a sudden I get a letter to mail, and 2-3 days later, I get big bins. I'm thinking about the price. Now, one of you are in the HOA up at Rock Creek, you get it every week. I see no reason why we couldn't continue what we had without a bunch of changes.
We tried, but your community was very price sensitive, and they rejected that as the option. So I'm sure Matt has all that if you want to see it, George.
Yeah, I'm talking mad about
Okay.
it. But it just, I want the board to inform more. The public should be more informed about, not just from March until just bang, here it is.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So look into that. I really appreciate, let me say one thing. Back when these districts were formed into the town of Superior, big deal was supposed to be one community. And by you separating individually Superior's trash from Rock Creek's, pickup.
I don't know
That
who did it.
is not
There's members of this
combined.
board that agree with that, so.
I
totally agree.
completely agree with that.
So that's been an issue that's.
I agree with that.
I'm serious. That's what was said. We're going to make it all one, but then we come down the line and we separate it. And that ain't right. You're not right. Really. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Jim Payne, Superior Resident, ProStack Chair, Parks, Rec, Open Space, and Trails Advisory Committee. ProStack has a request of the board. We'd like to proceed with naming process for Town 9. Now that the park is approved and work is about to begin, we'd like to do something similar to what we did for what is now Autry Park. We will, that doesn't mean it will be an historical name, but there's a good likelihood. We'll work with the Historical Commission, which was a good template that worked very well last time. We'll have a townwide contest, but because it's a neighborhood park, we will have specific outreach, postcard mailings, and so forth to original town and Sagamore, and make sure that their input is carefully considered. And we're also considering, we had some ideas about outreach to teens, and given the teen and youth aspects of the park, which are very strong, we had some discussion about outreach to the schools, have some sort of a contest, or try somehow to play that up. So we'd just like your go-ahead, and we would plan to have something back to you by November 15th, is sort of the timeline.
And Mayor, just as a background for the board, Martin Toth had come to me a couple weeks ago and asked me about moving forward with this process. But I had stated to him that I hadn't received direction from the board that you wanted to rename this park, so Jim is bringing that recommendation forward.
So I'm going to say that I think I speak for the board that, yes, we'd be, while we enjoy Town 9 as a name for a park, I think that we might be able to come up with something better. So, yes, proceed away.
And Jim, can you do it before November 15th? It seems far far.
If we want the schools,
The schools aren't in session now. We only meet monthly, so we won't really be able to fix the plan until the August meeting. And it took this, if you remember, it took this long last time. We didn't get an initial response. We had to come back to you and ask for more time. Then we did get a healthy response, so I think it's more realistic this way.
And I speak as just one trustee here that I am very happy to hear that you are going to be working on a name, and especially with the Historical Commission. So,
Not Town 8 or Town 7.
yeah, you know. Or,
Three-quarters.
I mean, Town 9 was referred to how many acres that lot was.
As a placeholder that stopped years ago.
Yep, very
So
good.
good?
Yes,
Great,
thank you.
Thank you.
Additional public comment? Seeing none, that brings us to the 6 presentations. We don't have any this evening. Then to the consent agenda, and remaining on the consent agenda is approval of the minutes for July 9, 2012 Board of Trustees meeting, acceptance of the minutes of the Open Space Advisory Committee and Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails Committee meetings, approval of a liquor license renewal for Old Chicago Restaurant, approval of an alcohol permit for possession and consumption on public property for Eric Mondro, and approval of an alcoholic permit for possession and consumption on public property for McInnes Wolney. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda by Trustee Williams, second by Trustee Gregorus. Discussion.
Is that James McInnes? Is he getting married?
It's Tamara.
Okay.
So, with that, all in favor?
I'm not going to make it.
Unanimous? Thank you very
Except
much.
for the minutes for Joe and I.
Yeah, fair enough, yep. That brings us to what was 7F, approval of a motion to approve the purchase of a Ford 250 truck, and that was Trustee Williams, was it?
I just had one question, and I figured it might spur more questions. But how much was this particular item budgeted for 2013?
It would have the same
So-
budget amount that's being requested tonight.
So it was budgeted 35,000 or 35,800 or 36 or?
I don't know specifically, but it would have been 35,000, depending, I mean, the state does bids every year, so as we get better information at the end of the year, that figure might have changed a little bit, but it did close to that.
And is waiting like a couple months when the 2013s come out, is that a good idea, bad idea?
We can't get emissions on this truck, so it can't be driven, so it's sitting in the parking lot.
That is good to know.
So,
And the dealership won't take it as a trade, so.
how many miles are on this truck?
70,000.
That's it?
That's it?
And they still
We're
won't
going
take...
to buy another Ford?
Well, keep in mind that these trucks take, because they push snow in the wintertime, the transmission and the engine takes a lot of work. I mean, they get a lot of work.
What about all those commercials on TV that show them?
That's a Dodge Ram.
Oh,
And this
that's
is in line with our typical vehicle replacement. We replace vehicles every 7 to 8 years and in this mileage range. So typically we can get a trade-in on them, but not on this one.
So this is typical, except for the trade-in.
And is it a Ford that you
It
we
is.
have?
It's the smaller, the
Okay.
current one's the smaller truck.
Okay.
That's all my questions.
What, the public auction process, is that, how does that work?
It's through one of there's companies that auction equipment off, and I'm not sure which one they use, but I can find out for you.
No,
And-
I just wanted to, I mean, do you offer to town residents first? Or,
No, typically we work with the auction company, and then anybody can, and if a resident's interested, we'll let them know who it's being auctioned off by. They can.
What do you expect to get from it?
I don't have that.
with no emission certificate?
Unless
$100?
no trade-in.
I mean, if you can't get emissions.
Now, you can donate the car and then write that entire donation, especially if it sells for more than the amount that,
We don't pay a lot of tax, though.
well, no, it's just, it's,
We don't pay tax.
okay.
Your
Well,
thing is an individual. This is a
You're right.
government, so, yeah, good idea.
All right, so if any other questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Trustee
You should make a
Williams?
motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of a Ford F-250 truck and equipment in the amount of $35,818.
Motion by trustee Williams, second by trustee Kirkhurst.
Sure, yes.
Oh, sorry. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Phyllis?
Cirilli?
Yes.
Pretorius?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Buckle?
Yes.
Pennington?
Yes.
Skumas? Oh, I'm sorry.
All right,
Yes.
thank you. That brings us to what was G, approval of a joint letter with the city of Louisville to the High Performance Transportation Enterprise. Mr. Magley, can you describe that just for people in general, so it's a little more?
Yes. This is a letter that would be signed by both cities and be sent to HPTE requesting the inclusion of a proposed new underpass under US 36 located at the top of Davidson Mesa as part of the US 36 Phase 2 construction improvements that are going to be done hopefully starting next year. What this letter does is commit the support for the underpass in the project, as well as funding of the underpass by the city of Louisville of 50%, and the town of Superior up to 25%, and then the city of Louisville will be working with Boulder County to get them to commit 25% to the project. Our portion of this would be $162,500. Total project price is $650,000 for the new underpass. It's thought that by including this underpass as part of the US 36 Phase 2 project, we'll have considerable cost savings associated with it. And it's thought to be a good bike and pedestrian connection for the region. This is just a commitment for funding the project and support of it. The actual, where the funds will come from will have to be worked out with the board as part of our 2013 budget process.
Trustee Williams.
So I pulled this for a number of questions that I have. First of all, I wanted to know about the schematic or the drawing that is sent to us here. There is a portion where the underpass is that is a trail that leads to the Davidson Mesa area and to Harbor Lake. And then there's a portion on the south side that is dotted lines, which indicate possible connections into Boulder County open space trails, as well as Superior. What I want to know is if the solid yellow line that is just south of the underpass, is that included in the $650,000? So,
On our side.
no, this is on Louisville's side.
She's looking at the other thing that we were presented.
I'm looking at this.
Okay. You're looking at
So on the Louisville side, there is a yellow, I don't know if you want to
Deb, can I see that real quick?
zero in here. There's a yellow little line here, a solid line, and it is on the Louisville side, just south of the underpass. I want to know if that is included in the $650,000.
And why are you asking that?
I want to know what we're buying here. I want the full disclosure
If
here.
you look at this, this drawing,
Is there any chance we could project that, or is that going to be too hard? I mean, I don't want
I mean, this was an
to
email
spend
that
too
you
much
sent.
time, but
And I have a couple other key questions that go along with this.
So you're asking, are we paying in the $650 for the trail connection to adjoin this to Louisville's Davidson Mesa trails?
That is
Is that
correct.
included in the $650?
Is that included in the $650? Or is this strictly the underpass?
it's, trying to think where I stuck all this.
It's on an email.
Sorry.
Do you want me to send this email to you?
No.
Okay.
It's not
it's
part
in
of
the
packet.
agenda if you want to, it's not in the packet?
No.
The
This
email's
isn't?
not, no.
The email's not part of
Our
it.
picture's
What,
not.
my picture's
Oh,
not.
your picture.
That was on an email.
Yeah, this is in the packet, what you're looking for there. That's coming.
So while you're doing that, I can ask some other
Back up a
questions.
little bit.
Back up, there we are.
So, it's my understanding that this is part of the project, and this, and this.
And so you're sure that it's just the underpass, the $650,000?
Correct.
Okay.
This part, any other part is either like this that's shown here in red,
Uh-huh.
which is tough to see, but that's part of the bikeway project, which is still part of this project, but it's a separate.
Okay.
You can just leave that up there for a
Yeah,
minute,
yeah.
okay?
Sure. So then the other question I have, based on the letter that we're writing in conjunction with Louisville to the, I think, High Performance Transportation Enterprise, or whatever, HPTE, it states that Louisville will attempt to secure repayment from Boulder County for the remaining 25% of the project cost, up to $162,500. My concern is what happens if Boulder County does not fulfill that bargain, that quarter? Then
Well, do they
what
pay
happens?
it, or do we pay it?
Our commitment is 25%.
No matter
Up to
what?
162.
No matter what.
No, up to 162,500.
Up to
We have
165.
a maximum price.
And do we know if Boulder County were planning on paying 50% of this project?
25%.
25. Louisville
Did we-
pays 50.
Okay, I understand
No,
that.
yeah. No,
Was
the county had received, up until recently, no request to fund this project. Louisville has talked to them, we've talked to the county as well, just to get clarification where they're at. What they came back to the city of Louisville was that this would need to go through the consortium of cities as an additional project, and then it would be up to that group to determine, or with the county, what project. So they came back to the city of Louisville with some options. You know, you could look at reallocating funds that were dedicated to X, Y, or Z project.
Can I
to this.
just break in here? So, as I think most people on ProStack or OSAC especially know, so Boulder County has a trails master plan that they fully budgeted for, that I don't think that there's excess cash around. I mean, I haven't looked at their balance sheet, but I think that they try to fully expend all their dollars, and so something is allocated to a specific project. Since this isn't the Boulder County's master trails plan, they would have to take that away from some other project, is my understanding. So,
So do we have confirmation that they will be paying for the remaining 25%?
Not at
We
this
do
time.
not.
Those discussions have just begun in the last week or two. That's my understanding.
Trustee Gregorius.
So I'm just trying to figure out from that drawing there, what are we getting for $165,000 that we're paying? It looks like that ends, is that ending on 76th? Marshall Road?
Marshall Road
That's where it ends?
Yep,
In-
that's what you get.
Boulder County.
And that's
Incorporated
Boulder
Boulder
By
County.
the corner then, right where those houses start, there's a
Right.
kennel and right there, okay.
And then,
So people come, they go under the underpass and they end up on Marshall Road, and then what?
Yeah, that's,
well,
Then they cross
Question.
that road.
we have started discussions with the city of Louisville and with CDOT about the extension of the bikeway, this bikeway they're building on our side of the highway, on the south side. And they seem to be open to that as a possibility. So this, if that were to occur, would attach to that bikeway.
And where would that bikeway be on this map?
So this is,
That's where the other map comes into play.
so my, along these lines, if I could just jump in there, so my recommendation is that this would be specifically included in the US 36 $10 million commitment from Fast Tracks as part of the bikeway that goes along US 36, so that the trail would come on the, I'm not sure, sort of northeast side, cross through this tunnel, so this would be specifically identified in the US 36 bikeway path, and then would come into Superior, turn south, if you would, that would parallel the highway to, just so people know what I'm talking about. So you
On the
would
same side of the road?
it would
As it
come
comes
into
in?
Boulder County, that north and west of our city, our town limits, would parallel the highway to the US 36, to the RTD park and ride in Superior, and then connect forward. So I'd be happy to sign this letter so long as that is a commitment.
Can you
Because otherwise,
use a pointer
We have a-
and tell us what you're talking
Yeah, because
about?
I'm a little bit.
it's an underpass to nowhere.
It's
yes,
this.
there, who's ever doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, thank you.
So it would come and go to the
It'll go
RTD?
east into the hard to be parked right.
And then connect through some other mechanism that I'm interested in, maybe through a tunnel or whatever, that would then go into the town center project.
We're
Because
talking right
otherwise-
here.
Otherwise, we have a dead end at Marshall Road,
Exactly.
and what do we get out of it?
It's ridiculous.
Right. Well, then we get extra expense to figure out what to do
Exactly.
with
And
it.
then you get the
It's
expense.
outside of
Or
Superior too, so we wouldn't.
That's correct.
Right.
Until it
We wouldn't do
reaches
anything with it.
Superior.
Right. And if I can read in here what OSAC recommended at their meeting, it says, and this was, I believe, unanimous, the committee supports the proposed underpass conditioned upon trail connectivity to Superior's trail system being included in the scope of the project, but can make no recommendation on funding until further information is presented. They had no dollar figures sent to them at this meeting in front of them, so they insisted upon connectivity to Superior's trails.
And I couldn't agree with them more.
And ProStack has the very same comments.
And-
Committee recommends support of construction of the underpass, but not funding its construction.
And one of the other things I was going to bring up here was that we need a guarantee from Boulder County that they will provide a trail from this underpass that leads to the nearest trail connection to our town. At least, basically, it ends at, at the juncture of Boulder County and Superior, so that we're not building a trail up to Boulder County and then now everybody's creating a social trail to get to the underpass.
And that's why it's important that this would be included in the 36 Fast Tracks bike trail, because then that would be part of that commitment.
That's how that would occur.
There's your map, Deborah.
Hey, there we go.
But that was OSAC's concern, too, that somehow this project included this. Their question was, did the solid lime-colored line that's going northeast to Davidson Mesa, was that included in this project, whereas those dotted ones down to our trail system were not? And I thought I understood from staff that only the underpass component was included in the 650, and that in fact no trail connections of any kind were being made either to Louisville or to us in terms of two existing trails. Now, your previous graphic showed that that actually is a little more expanded than what I just said, that in fact it leads to Marshall and it in fact connects with the bikeway from Boulder south.
And can I just clarify that this is the US 36 bikeway that's proposed in the US 36 BRT corridor project? And are we asking that they move it this way?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
That's what I would be asking.
okay.
Because that, those, a lot of that in Louisville's already either built or connected on streets. And so I think that we should be a regional partner. I support this. But we can't be a regional partner and exclude our residents from being able to use it, so.
I completely agree, yeah. So whatever we have to do to make that happen.
Just redraft the letter, but I'd like to entertain any public comment regarding this particular issue.
Yes, Jim Payne, ProStack Chair. You have ProStack's recommendation. It's in the cover letter, so I won't repeat it, and you've pretty much covered the issues. I would just point out that our concern was that since there would be cost on our side of 36, that Superior would inevitably be expected to participate with, that might be our contribution to this project. But you're saying it the same thing in a different way. I would just point out one other thing, that the way this is now designed, by having it essentially dump pedestrian and bike traffic onto Marshall, aside from what could be a considerable amount of pedestrian and bike traffic, in addition to the trail connection issues, you've got to get them across Marshall. So is that going to be a stoplight? I mean, that's a very dangerous, that's where people are beginning to speed up and that sort of thing. It's a curve. Are you going to have a crosswalk with a stoplight? Are you going to have an underpass there? So there are obviously expenses that would have to be considered for that, too.
Thank you. Additional public comment?
Thankfully, that area is Boulder County.
What curve you talking about? Above Blacklands there?
And you're George, sorry.
George Cuffner. What curve you?
Yeah, so
talking about?
if you're driving to Boulder along Marshall Road, you know how it goes up the hill a little bit out of Superior, and then there's a big curve. And I don't
You
know.
know that's private property on the right-hand side going around there, and that man just filled that all in? The rest of it is Louisville's open space, and their ditch runs down through there?
Mhm.
Why are we finding a hole in the donuts?
On what?
A dead end on Marshall Road don't make sense to me. There's a bunch of traffic is up and down that road right now.
Completely
That's what we're
agree.
discussing.
If they go to plan, they're gonna have to plan something underneath Marshall Road to the open space on the other side, to the connections of the trails they already have. So why
Correct.
You're exactly right, George.
You got that right.
We agree.
are we
We
gonna
totally
bother with $160,000? I can't get 25 for a shelter.
Yeah, that's what I did.
All right, any other public comment regarding this? Yeah, we got your point.
Yeah.
So
We all agree.
so in terms of the letter that we would potentially send as a joint letter from Louisville and Superior, we would need to have some language in there specifying the concerns of OSAC, ProStac, and I think what the board has discussed tonight. So, and I'm not sure that we necessarily should draft that letter in the middle of the meeting, but I think the concerns that we've identified that they need to connect to
I would like to,
get the highlights, or do you want to write the letter
yeah, I
tonight?
would like to write the letter tonight.
Eeg.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, honestly, I'm going to tell you that if we take a vote on this tonight, I'm going to vote no, and I might be in the minority. I know how significant this is, but there's no way I can vote for something that's going to cost us $165,000 that's going to end on Marshall Road, which is a traffic hazard. Because what I foresee is what George said, we're going to have to do another underpass under Marshall Road to get them on the west side so they can connect to the trail system. And that's going to be, is it us, or is it Boulder County?
We're going to have the problem no matter whose responsibility it is.
Otherwise, dumping people on Marshall Road in the turn, it means a disaster, unless there's a connectivity that's safe. Because we're going to get people from Lafayette, if they're saying Lafayette, Louisville, they're all going to come here, they're coming west, it's a great connectivity, I agree with that. But where does it lead? Who's going to pay for it?
Hopefully, Fast Track.
I know, but
Tracks does.
hopefully, though, I can't vote on something that's
I agree.
hopefully.
Yeah.
I just can't do it.
Yeah. So
I'm in the minority, so be it,
if
but-
you feel like you need to do the letter tonight, someone can start crafting away various language, and we need to move on to the next item, because I don't want to,
Right.
is that fair? And then we'll come back to that.
Kendrick could craft.
Because I know the board is not going to be writing the letter here.
Well, we can postpone it.
No, I mean, I don't want to postpone it if you think.
The
we
initial
should get
letter
that.
is right there on
Right.
page 78.
Right.
Right.
Too many unanswered questions.
And they don't need this necessarily until August again, like the bridge, or do they need this beforehand?
They have indicated they need it beforehand.
HPTE does, or
CDOT.
CDOT does?
Yeah, well, they need to answer some question.
But we could at least just a short recap of the major concerns.
Yeah, so the major concerns is that it has to connect to Superior's trail system in a safe and effective manner. It needs to be part of the US 36 bikeway path, where the path would connect to our RTD park and ride, and then we could figure out where it goes from there, which
And we
it's already identified.
started that process.
Right, and the bikeway's already identified to being in the town center as part of the Fast Tracks program, so it doesn't make much sense to kind of keep weaving in and out. So those would be my particular concerns, for sure.
I think that's the only way I could support it,
Exactly.
because this whole process of this underpass has bothered me from the get-go. It's not been done in accordance with our normal processes. We've been pushed on this, has been of little benefit. However, what you're suggesting would be of great benefit. And so,
I mean, the connectivity to the town center, I really like that, but that's one thing. But how do you get people across Marshall? That's the
That's the
If they're
big
trying to
issue.
connect to Boulder County trails, I mean, that's going to,
there's people doing it now. I mean, I don't.
yeah, there's no trail. I mean, at the end of the day,
It's
there's no
happening now.
trailhead
People are
there.
riding down Marshall.
Right.
I don't really see a lot of pedestrians going there. I think it's a bikeway, but, and,
But there's going to be a lot more bike traffic, though.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they'll be coming from Louisville
Right.
instead of just from Boulder and Superior, but,
You've got fast bikes, fast cars, and fatalities.
no, it's, Marshall's a very popular bike route.
Yeah.
And as a biker from Superior, you would not know that there's an underpass there because there would be no trail leading you to it.
Right.
So the utility goes more one way.
Exactly.
From Louisville
It's
to
a one-way.
Superior.
Well, you have
The only
to
So-
76th Street.
Yeah, the only reason that would make
66th
sense to
Street
me
is
is
what you
that
have to
if
get
this is
from
part of the US 36 bikeway.
Right.
Otherwise, I can't see that being
Because you
profitable
don't
to us at all.
see Boulder County actually creating a trail from that underpass,
Well, maybe someday.
Maybe someday, in
but nowhere.
10 years from now.
Yeah, let's
I mean,
make that a
they have
requirement. I
processes
like
too,
that.
that's the point.
So the best opportunity to get that trail system connected is through the US 36
That's the only-
corridor.
It's the only way I can see it
Project.
happening. I don't know how else it would occur.
Bike riders could come under the underpass and then turn right and turn west and head towards
Yes.
Marshall. They could do that.
Right.
Okay.
But, I mean, there's the dirty Bismarck. How do you connect to that?
You
have to go
don't.
across.
66th Street.
Yeah, I mean, you have to
66.
ride down and turn to it.
But if you're coming from Superior and you want to ride on the mountain trails, you're going to use,
Kindred, the two conditions we thought we heard that we would send back rather than redrafting the letter. Send
Okay.
back the two conditions to Louisville and see what their response is.
Okay.
And these are what I have. The underpass connects to the town of Superior's trail system in a safe manner, and the underpass is included as part of the US 36 bikeway, which connects to the town's park and ride on Marshall.
I think that's a good condition, and they can go from there.
and I would add with the first concern, in a safe manner, that they understand that it dumps you on Marshall Road.
Right.
Because I mean, that's,
So that would be conditioned, our expenditure would be conditioned upon those being fulfilled.
Exactly. And I think the way to do it is, Matt would send back an email saying, you know,
These are the two conditions.
board approved that letter if these two conditions are added.
that-
I think that gets me a long way, for sure.
and we'll just assume that BOCO is going to do their 25%, and that won't be an issue.
So if
I'm not sure.
BOCO doesn't do the 25%, the deal's off, right?
You got it.
No, we don't pay any more. They would have to come out.
Unless Louisville comes up with
Okay,
it.
okay.
Yeah, that's right.
We're
We still
capped.
have a cap.
Maybe Lafayette would want to play.
Okay.
Maybe the city of Boulder.
Is everybody comfortable with that, with those conditions?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we need to vote?
Yes.
Yes, we do. Do you want to?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Let me get there. So I'd like to make a motion to support a joint letter with the City of Louisville to the High Performance Transportation Enterprise requesting a new underpass at US 36 and Davidson Mesa with the following conditions. Do you want to read the conditions, Kendra?
Sure. I was trying to save them. Hold on. The underpass connects to the town of Superior's trail system in a safe manner. The underpass is included as part of the US 36 bikeway, which connects to the town's park and ride on Marshall Road.
And that's the
Which
final
will-
motion.
Which Yeah, well, I mean, I just want to make sure it's very clear what we're talking about, that the trail would connect to the US 30, to the park and ride.
Would
So if
that
you're-
be additional expense, though? Wouldn't that change the
Well,
No, that would be through the 36
That'd be my hope.
BRT corridor project.
Park and ride, but what about safely connecting to our trail system? That's going to be an expense for us, though, right?
Well, it's in Boulder County, I mean,
But so we have to
No, if-
make the trail 8 foot wide or whatever it is, all the way to some existing trail. And
But
how
can't
far
it
is that?
connect on the trail system through 76th? I mean, if it safely crosses Marshall and leads to 76, right now I can ride along 76 and get on Colton Trailhead if I follow Singletree, et cetera, et cetera. So to me, that is a safe connection to our trail system, is going along 76, as long as you've got a safe way to get me across Marshall.
But actually, if it is included in the US 36 BRT corridor project Phase 2, and without that map being up there, the bikeway crosses underneath for where we, from RTD, our Superior Park and Ride, to that underpass that's being created that we're discussing, then you can just connect there. You wouldn't even have to get on US 36, or on Marshall Road,
Correct.
Yeah,
or 76th Street,
You just
because you
go
can
through the
ride
parking lot.
on Meadowlark Trail to get there, all the way to Original Town.
And there's $10 million dedicated in fast tracks specifically for bikeway construction. This seems like when it gets to an RTD site, how much better can it possibly be? So
Right.
I would assume it would qualify.
You are wanting RTD to understand that we expect to be included in that whole bikeway
Yep.
expansion.
Correct.
Yeah, right.
Because of the big vision, I think that we would like, if the town center project ever moves forward, we'll come up with some other way to connect to the RTD park and ride and then to the 36 bikeway corridor. This is part of that extension.
Right.
So,
Right.
So what I'm hearing is we don't expect to hear later down the road that we need to build an additional trail that's X number of miles long because that's in place.
I'm a little confused by our first, or maybe they might be confused by the first condition, and that is we're expecting $650,000 to include a trail connection
That's what I'm saying.
to Superior Trails, which is
Right.
other than the bikeway connection. And we're just objecting to connecting to Louisville's trail system earlier, so.
So here's my proposal then, that Louisville supports the inclusion of the US 36 BRT bikeway being rerouted on the Superior side, or not really Superior side, but being rerouted as we spoke.
Extended or rerouted?
No, rerouted, because currently, if you see the map that was up there, and I was pointing that it goes on the Louisville side, and we would just flip-flop it, mirror it to our side, so that it connected to the underpass. So we would need support in having that happen. We're not asking,
Added, right? That would be.
I mean,
it wouldn't be added. It-
Well, I mean,
if they want to run one on both sides of the
Right, yeah.
highway, then
So be it.
more power to them. But as a minimum, it has to be on our side there.
At a
But we're
minimum,
not asking Louisville
extended
to
and possibly rerouted.
to fund this. We're asking for support for this.
And so
Does that make more sense?
the way they would connect to Meadowlark or any of the other trail systems here, then they'd have to, again, go down 76th Street?
You'd have two ways of going, but, well, 76th would be the most. I'm not sure how far away it is from either of the two, and that's one of the problems I have.
Yeah, to get to those trails, there's not any easy way to get there.
Right.
Because it's either going through private property as there, or it's, you have to run parallel to Marshall Road till you get to I don't remember what the name of that road is, but
Well, it's 66th or 76th.
is it 70?
There's two ways you get over.
76.
Wherever
Yeah, you're
Highlight
right.
is, off of Marshall.
I just don't want to mislead anyone thinking that we're going to build a nice trail extension right across from this tunnel.
Right.
On some property we're going to pay for that leads all the way to
Right.
that trail system that goes the whole way around Boulder. So,
Joe, I like your point. If I'm interpreting it correctly, is that we're sort of spitting in the wind,
Exactly.
expecting too much.
Yeah.
So let's clarify what we do expect and go for it.
To me, it's important to get the bikeway, as the mayor described, and maybe Deb's putting it as Louisville's support for that, being a critical point, and then that would be something that's perfectly reasonable to ask for in this, and it would be to great benefit for Superior. As I recall, the bikeway ultimately is going to cross to our side anyway, so it's kind of silly that, but, why not do it with the underpass there? And that's a win-win for us.
So
And I-
When you have the language, however, that says supports, what
Well, I-
happens if it's denied?
Well,
It'd be a condition, and
Right.
yeah, so make it a condition.
But
It sounds like what I'm hearing is one condition for approval, that Louisville supports the addition of the
Or
connection.
rerouting.
Yeah, they don't even have to say support. They
No.
say that the letter would say that
Yeah.
that the
By agreeing
U.S.
to the letter, they're supporting it,
the U.S. 36 bikeway would cross there and then would connect to the RTD
Right.
park and ride in
Yeah, the
Superior.
support makes it weak
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
it
actually,
allows them an out.
If they agree to the letter, they're supporting that.
So say that again, Mayor?
Well, basically, the letter would say that the U.S. 36 bikeway would cross at that underpass and then from where it is in Boulder, which is on the other side of the road, basically, so would cross at that underpass, would then connect through to the Superior Park and Ride and
Run
continue.
parallel.
Run parallel, however that would be designed. So, not that they would potentially support, or, I know where you're coming from, but basically,
In
it's
other words,
concrete,
it's
it's
not
going to run there.
funds
and
we're
then
asking
we'll-
from them.
Exactly.
Are we abandoning
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's rerouted, just that there's a connection to.
Okay. So it's contingent upon the US 36 bikeway crossing at the underpass and connecting to the Superior Park and Ride?
Yes.
Okay. I think we still have to vote. Was there a motion?
Yes, there was a motion.
wasn't?
Yeah.
And the contingent, and the
The two contingencies.
Have been
Now-
reduced to one.
reduced to one, and they are, and it is.
The town's portion of the funding is contingent upon the US 36 bikeway crossing at the underpass and connecting to the Superior Park and Ride on Marshall Road.
What happened to the other one?
I think that covers it.
What was the other one?
Yeah, they
Connecting
would
to the-
save trails,
Okay.
Superior
Yeah.
Trails.
Which I think
Fair enough.
Trustee Sorelli is accurate, that that's very difficult to have a direct connection. Okay, so there was a motion, was there a second? I don't remember. Is there a second? Anybody? Trustee Sorelli, further discussion? Okay, Phillips?
No.
Hanson,
I'm going to vote no, too.
Knuckle,
Yes.
Pennington,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Sorelli.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, and Trustee Gross, I fully understand where you're coming from. It's kind of an awkward way of doing this procedure. All right, that brings us to item number 8, adoption of resolutions making appointments to the Planning Commission, the Open Space Advisory Committee, the Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails Advisory Committee, the Recycling and Conservation Advisory Committee, and the Historical Commission. And somebody want to describe the process?
Yes, Mayor, maybe between Kendra and I, we can cover that. So, as you mentioned, we're considering making appointments for the 5 remaining applicants that we have. And We've listed in the cover memo there each applicant's first preference as well as any additional preference for committee appointment they may have. We currently have 2 vacancies on the Planning Commission, 3 on OSAC, 1 on ProStac, 3 on RCAC, and 2 on the Historic Commission. We've provided ballots if the board chooses to use them to vote for each of the committees. The way the process will work for the new state line, you want to cover that?
Sure, so if we use ballots, which is entirely up to the board, they just have to have each trustee's name on it and list how the trustee voted. They're then collected by the clerk and tallied. They don't have to be released right now, but they are a public record, subject to the Open Records Act. So that means they're not secret ballots, they're just written ballots.
So each board member has a ballot in front of them. At the top of the ballot has your name. We won't read off who voted for who, but if somebody wanted to request that in the public records, they can get that information.
He also already has our name on this.
Yeah. Make it easy.
Yeah.
Staff would recommend the board vote for to fill one or both of the planning commission seats, since 4 of the applicants indicated that was their preference, and then proceed from there.
Yeah, well,
This is just for the plan, where's this for?
these were on the Planning Commission.
Got any more? Hasn't made a deal income in this one.
So we need to know this outcome to proceed, right?
That is correct.
Correct. Or at least it would be very helpful.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for Walmart's. And 1, 2, 3 for Rosita Williams.
Can you speak in the mic? I can't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you get what I already said? Or no?
Actually, no.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for Bob Walmart's. 1, 2, 3 for Rosita Williams.
Are you saying 3 for her
Yeah,
or
3.
4?
3.
Okay.
3, 4. 3 votes for. And 2 votes for Bob Ivanauskas and 1 vote for, and I'm not sure if his name's Jarvie or Harvey Worcester.
Okay, so do you want to do that resolution now, or do you want to do it all together for the planning commission?
Probably do the planning commission one right now.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
We have, is it presumed that the one with the most votes gets the longest term?
I would
Yeah,
think.
I would think so, yeah.
Anybody?
I'd like to make a motion to approve Town of Superior Resolution
52.
R-52, Series 2012, a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Superior making appointments to the Planning Commission. And we have, hold on a second, Bob Walmartz and Rosita Williams.
And Walmart's gets the June 2016 and Williams gets the June 2014.
Okay,
Correct?
motion? Yep. Second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, second by trustee Cirilli, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. So Do you want to move then to, does it make a difference? Do people feel more comfortable moving to OSAC or ProStack?
Whatever's next year. The next one is,
Next was OSAC on my list.
Well, if we elect 3, we exhaust our numbers.
what happens after that, though? That's it.
Okay, so we're voting for OSAC now?
I would say that we should do ProStack and then go to
Yeah,
OSAC.
ProStack has one left,
Already?
one vacancy.
Okay.
Wait.
You're giving me trustee.
I messed up there. I was going to vote for somebody else.
One, two, three, four for Bob Ivanowskis and 2 for Emily Cedarburg.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion then for ProStack from anybody.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Town of Superior Resolution Number R-53, I guess. Lucky guess. Series 2012. A resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Superior, Colorado, making an appointment to the Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails Advisory Committee for Bob Ivanowskis.
Okay.
I guess, yes.
Motion by trustee Gross, is there a second? Trustee Williams, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
May I bring up
Certainly.
one point? I may have written down wrong, but on Planning Commission, I counted 11 votes, not 12. And I just wanted to make sure there was not a tie for that second position.
There was 11.
Yeah, but there's 6 of us, there should be 12 votes, is what he's saying.
Unless somebody did not vote for 2.
I'm not a mathematician, but
I have my MBA on the other hand,
I think the second one was 3-2-1.
but it was 5-3-2-1,
Well, I
which
think
is
Phyllis just
11.
didn't mention the one vote for the first.
Oh, okay.
That was the,
Just to be,
that's where you're,
but I just want to make sure there was not a tie.
Okay.
there
There
was
was a-
one vote for,
For Ivanowskis.
Oh,
okay,
okay,
that's-
gotcha,
okay.
thank you.
Sorry.
Okay.
Say that again?
no, there were 12 votes. He didn't mention the
We're good.
12th one.
The one I didn't mention to make it 12 was Bob Ivanowskis.
Well, you said 2 for...
Yeah, 2 for him.
You said 2 for Ivanowskis.
Yeah,
Let me go back.
yeah, come back.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So what do we do next? We got 2 people left, right?
5 for,
Mayor?
Marmarks.
okay.
1,
I think everybody else had either ProStack or OSAC, so
3, 4, 5 for
what do we have?
5.
We vote on
So
OSAC.
3.
1,
We do OSAC.
And we only have 2 available.
The changes with
You're doing great.
3, 4.
4 for Rosita?
Good.
Need a calculator?
No, I just need to be able to read right. 1, 3, 4 for Williams.
Okay, that's good.
Oh, 4 for
Instead of
Williams.
3.
Or
That's the difference, 4 for Williams. That's right.
2 for Ivanowskis.
Okay.
1, 2 for Bob Ivanowskis.
Did that come to 12?
Works.
Sorry.
All right, then we're off to OSAC.
And we have 2 choices, so that should be unanimous.
I would think so, but don't know for sure.
Wanna-
We have to go through the democratic process.
No, we can choose to just raise our hand, too.
Well, we're on a roll.
We can do,
Keep
Or
rolling.
we could do what we've done in the past, but
Yeah, the record will be the same this way. Somebody asked for the
Use
record.
everybody.
all right.
Vote for
Oh, okay.
Make sure you keep that secret.
Sorry,
Six for Emily Cedarburg and 6 for Jarvie Worcester.
Ran a good campaign.
I'm sorry.
6 and
6 for Emily Cedarburg and 6 for Harvey Worcester.
Okay, would like to make a motion to approve Town of Superior Resolution Number R-54, Series 2012. A resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Superior, Colorado, making appointments to the Open Space Advisory Committee. We have Emily Cedarburg and Harvey Worcester.
We do have a bit of an issue with the terms. If you see here, 2 expire June 2013 and 1 expires June 2015.
I
that's
just did
a
an
significant-
alphabetical order, and
And do the 13 and 15, or do both 13s?
well, we need to make sure that our cycles are,
Yeah.
so we're going to have to, somebody's just going to have to, for the luck of the draw, is going to have to
So
have the shorter
you're
term.
suggesting Emily alphabetically gets the longer term? I'm okay with that.
I mean, for no particular reason, just
But they
have
still-
alphabetical order.
She ran a better campaign.
There's, just a sec, guys. I want to raise a point. I know this is nitpicking, but it's important. The June 2015 term is really a 3-year term, which is a full term, except we're just getting around it at the end of July. So the 2013s each get a year and eligible for 2 more 3-year terms. So we're making a little bit of a decision here. And I guess my recommendation would to both go with the 2013s, and they're both eligible for 2 more 3-year terms.
Except that
And continue to recruit for the 2015.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Certainly.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Right, so I didn't see that. I didn't realize that there were 2 at the same time.
Good catch.
Good point.
Matt, would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
And then that's it, I guess, for now.
right.
So we have more...
Motion and a second. All right, Trustee Williams, thank you very much. All in favor? Unanimous. So I think the board thanks everybody who applied. We appreciate everybody's hard work. We like people stepping up to the plate. It's fantastic. So town manager will notify everybody of their notifications, and we will continue to actively recruit for OSAC, Historic Commission, and RCAC.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
I think that's it.
Andrew, just
Yes, certainly.
on RCAC, one of the issues that seemed to come up a couple times was that they start a little bit
Timing,
too early.
yep.
And do we address that as a board, or do we meet with
I'd like-
RCAC and discuss?
We have
it?
addressed that, actually,
I'd
yeah.
like RCAC to be able to come up with my recommendation to them. I mean, I'd like to give them some flexibility to do whatever works best for them, to try a couple of different meeting times and see
Yeah.
what works best for people. I mean,
But why don't they start like a half an hour later? I mean, what's the holdup? I don't know. All the other committees start at 7, right?
staff will pass it along. to
Historical
RCAC.
Commission's 10 a.m.
But the board's desire would be
that.
to try some different times to see if we can improve recruitment into RCAC.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. Thank you very much. That brings us to item number 9, executive session to consider the purchase. Yes, Trustee Strelli, yes?
I don't know if I could ask this question. I don't want to, and I don't intend to reopen the issue about the underpass, but I did have a question from the OSAC meeting and their question about funding. And my question, I always wonder when OSAC is considering funding, whether It's whether the town, are they concerned whether the town should pay or whether it's open space funds that should pay? And I'm never sure how to take their recommendation. Did you have a feel for that?
I was assuming that meant whether or not it was going to come out of open space funds or not, but maybe I...
That is
And
indeed
you were
their
there,
concern.
so what was your take on it?
That's correct.
Okay.
They support the project, but they didn't want their support for the project to be interpreted as any kind of support for funding it from OSAC.
That's kind of the
So-
way I was...
From open space
From
funds.
open space
Yeah,
funds.
that's kind of what I was thinking, but I wasn't positive.
However, as I discussed with Matt, when that funding decision must be discussed, they're expecting to be asked to weigh in on where the funding should come from,
That's fair enough.
right? So they expect it to come back to them.
Totally fair. Item number 9, executive session to consider the purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of real, personal, or other property to pursuant to CRS 24-6-402, A, and to determine positions and/or instruct negotiators pursuant to CRS 24-6-402, E, regarding the town center project. With that, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session by Trustee Williams, second by Trustee...
So you guys are too far to the...
I know, I'm sorry.
Right eye.
This is the left wing.
The left wing.
I
of
think
the
I should.
party.
I think I should sit down there. Maybe the mayor should sit on both
Just need a
sides so
mirror.
that I can see everybody.
They need a mirror.
Maybe like a
What
bike
just
thing?
happened here? I missed something.
There's a
There's a
motion.
motion and we're waiting for...
Second by trustees.
Trustee Hanson was the first one.
All in favor?
Oh, yeah.
Unanimous. We're in executive session.
I
Thank
think
you.
you need a mirror on the back.
And we're not having legal counsel here?
So I can see
No, we need to have... Oh, no? Okay, so she left? All right, well, goodbye, Kendra.
Before you start, though, let me go make sure he turns.
Paul's going.
Okay.
Yes.
This
Sounds
is
good.
still on.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kendra.
Oh, it's a delayed reaction.
It is. Drives me nuts.
And the smacking begins.
And the snack began, exactly.
That's okay. I choose not to do the snacks because they're nasty. Because they're nasty. I've been sitting out for a long time. There's always bugs crawling around. I don't know how many times it's come out and been put in a bag and come out and
There he goes. He's off the air.
put in a bag.
I hate flies.
So
No, that's not here.
eat at your own risk.
So Joe, how were your travels?
Very good.